Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is Tuesday, December 30th. We are live. Not late. As much as people want me to be late, I'm here. We're live. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Got 2 days left. 2 days left of the year. Today and tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a full day, contrary to what some people might have heard. It is going to be a full market open, market close. And then Thursday, we are not going to have the markets open at all. But tomorrow is not going to be a half day. So we've got 2 more nights left to see how this market ends up turning out. Yesterday was a bit lackluster, to say the least. Didn't really get that much movement. Markets were broadly flat to red. Pre-markets are getting a little bit of a change. S&P 500 not necessarily green, but also not red. It's down 0.03%, so not that much crazy movement up or down. SoFi's up 0.5%, AMD's up, Intel's up, Micron's up, Tesla's up, Nvidia's up. Tesla took a nasty 3% hit yesterday, recovering a little bit right there, up 0.63%. HIMS is up, CrowdStrike is up. I mean, they're not up like crazy, but they're also not necessarily down. Nebius, CoreWeave, Iran, all of them were down 3-4% yesterday. They are all up about 0.5% right here in the pre-market. So we're going to see when the market opens over the next 40 minutes if we actually get some volume and momentum that can create a foundation for this Santa Claus rally. It seems like most people have given up on the idea that a Santa Claus rally is going to happen, given you've got 2 days left, today and tomorrow, for that Santa Claus rally to take place. We did have Bitcoin that got to 90,000 on Sunday. It is back to 87.9. Not horrible, but really not breaking out and making those levels that people would get excited about. So if we get 2 days of relatively flat behavior across the market, I don't think that's crazy. I think that's normal. It's kind of, we're up basically 18% on the year. And even if we don't get those extra 2-3% to get back to 20% years, it would still be an incredible year. But it would also be nice to see 7,000 on the S&P. And so we got 2 days left. We got 2 days left to get a shot at it. But if we don't, then it is what it is. Now, silver is up. We'll talk about silver and the reversal on silver from less. So yesterday, silver took a nasty 10% dip. Intraday, I think the worst they got to was 11%. Gold was down 4.9%. You wake up this morning, silver is up 6.12%. And so we'll go deeper into silver and talk more about it. But this is kind of why my general take was yesterday. Price action is not enough to go short, because the premiums you were paying yesterday after the decline were already jacked up 30 to 40%. So going short yesterday, I just didn't think made a lot of sense. Now, maybe you pay more for those premiums after you get a second day of confirmation that things are continuing to fall, aka it is a silver falling knife. But buying it on the first dip, you can speculate, but it didn't feel like that would be enough confirmation that it's short. And maybe this thing is still a falling knife. It's just, it reversed. And if 70 becomes the base on silver, just like 50 became the base over the past couple of weeks, I mean, maybe silver is not really a short right here. So we'll get a lot more analysis over the coming hours. And if silver can hold this momentum, copper's up today. Palladium took a 17% dip yesterday. Platinum took a 10% dip. But if all those things just took a hiccup versus an actual dip, then they're going to get bought up. And if they're going to get bought up, then maybe that trade continues to go out and going into 2026. SLV, which is BlackRock's fund, that is up 3.86% right here in the pre-markets as well. All right, let's get into it. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We got 2 days left. 2 days left. Jasmine, good morning. Neil, good morning. Bolu, good morning. I'm Benny. What's up? Nature Lover, what's up? Thank you for being here. Meta is the actual headline of the day in the AI part of the stock market, which we'll talk about. That'll be our first story. Very surprising what Meta did last night, but we will get into that because I think that has some implications on what's going on with AI. And quite frankly, that could be one of the reasons why you're getting a little bit of a pump across the AI stocks. You've got a little bit of M&A action that could be more bullish for the ecosystem as well. So we will get into that. Laura, good morning. Alpina, good morning. Tim, what's up? Joe, thank you for being here. Chels, good morning. Christopher, Nolan. By the way, put in the chat if you're at work or you're working this week, because I know a lot of people have this week off, or at least either you have this week off or you're using your PTO to take this week off. So let me know if people are actually at work, because I still think there's a decent chunk of people that either are on holiday or they're not in work mode yet. And next Monday is when they officially get to work. But if you're just chilling at home, then let me know as well. And if you're quote unquote working from home, then you don't got to say anything. Define working. Yeah, see, exactly. Define working. Listening to Amit at his speed is work. Okay, that is also fair. See, no one can listen to me on 2. If you listen to me on 2x, you've got some issues. That's kind of crazy. If you listen to me at 2x. Working from home. Okay, most people say they're working from home. Most people say, a couple people say they went to work. A few people say PTO, beach. Yeah, it seems like there's a decent chunk of people that are definitely on vacation this week. All right, so I think officially next week is when everyone officially goes back to work. When we start off 2026, we're starting it off Friday, which, by the way, we're going to get Tesla deliveries on Friday, which Tesla did something different. Tesla actually published on their website in the investor relations the consensus analyst projections, and they have it at 425,000. Now, Bloomberg has it at 445,000. So I'm not sure exactly what Tesla's trying to do right here, but I think Tesla's going to beat 425,000 if they're actually publishing their version of the consensus analysts projections. And I think they're probably coming in at like 435, 440. But Friday morning, we will get those Tesla delivery numbers for Q4, and we'll see how the street reacts to that as well going into next week. Just watching a bit count as working. Well, yeah, exactly, because you're filling your brain up with information about the equity markets. That's work. So 100%. That counts as work. All right, let's get into it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's start with Meta. So Meta acquired a Chinese company last night. The understanding of the acquisition from the details I'm looking at is $2 billion. And the application, some of you guys might know what it is. I downloaded it this morning for the first time. It's called Manus AI. And the idea behind this company is that they are one of the best agentic workflow platforms for the consumer, not necessarily for the enterprise. Now, they might have an enterprise business that I might not be sure of, but it should be something that's more rooted for consumers. And that's like why Meta ended up buying it. Obviously, Meta is more of a consumer-facing platform. So here's what they said today. Since the launch, Manus has focused on building a general-purpose AI agent designed to help users tackle research, automation, and complex tasks. Through continuous product iteration, we've been working hard to change these real-world capabilities to be more reliable and useful. In just a few months, our agent has processed more than 147 trillion tokens and powered the creation of over 80 million virtual computers. We believe in the potential of autonomous agents, and this development reinforces Manus's role as an execution layer, turning advanced AI capabilities into scalable, reliable systems that can carry out end-to-end work in real settings. So, wait, it's not a Chinese company? Are you sure it's Singapore? If so, then I'm racist, that's not a good thing. But I thought it was a Chinese company. If I'm wrong on that, then something that I read was probably wrong. But regardless, it is an AI company. And this is what the website looks like right here in terms of, okay, Singapore. Dude, I could have swore, I read a couple articles on I could have swore I saw Chinese. Maybe those articles were wrong, but I thought I saw Chinese. But this is what it looks like. So it's a personal AI agent, right? You've seen from the screenshots, you can make your own presentation. You can do deep research. You can set it up for your email workflows. They moved to Singapore from China. I really did think again, it's only been a couple hours I've been researching it, but I thought it was a Chinese company. Regardless, it's an AI company that got a $2 billion buyout. Now, looking at these screenshots, you might be thinking, what the hell is the difference between this and ChatGPT? And that was my first assumption, because even when I downloaded it, I'm like, okay, so it's a chatbot. Like they bought another chatbot. Like, aren't there a ton of different chatbots out there? Apparently, and here's some analysis from a shareholder of Meta who analyzed this deal this morning. He says, Manus, unlike ChatGPT, was built to execute tasks rather than provide text answers. The goal is to assign it a high-level task so that the agent can navigate different tasks autonomously to complete the job. Foundation models predict the next word, while Manus predicts the next action. The unique part about Manus is that it uses an architecture called Codact. Instead of just talking about a problem, it writes a Python script on the fly to solve it, executes that script in a secure sandbox, and then looks at the result. The sandbox means that Manus provides every user with a dedicated cloud-based Linux environment. They now have more than 80 million virtual computers. This means the upfront costs are higher than with ChatGPT, but you're paying for the virtual computer even when they're idle. So it allows you to create agents And the sophisticated nature of how they train their models is that they're not trying to predict the next word, which is kind of the like core basis of how LLMs operate, which is what kind of created this whole revolution back in 2022. But they're trying to predict the next action. And as a result of predicting the next action, they're already coding the next action. And so before you end up finishing your query, they're already thinking of how they can serve what the query is going to be. And that results in a scalable action. Now, we don't have the exact price tag on this, but they have reached 100 million in ARR, the fastest in history, 8 months. Now, we've seen a lot of these companies that have hit $100 million ARR. I think Cursor was the first one to do it in less than a year. Then you had a couple other companies get there in less than 9 months. This one did it in 8 months. So it does seem like it is the fastest startup to get to $100 million in annual recurring revenue. And it looks like they got a $2 billion buyout as of today. Again, that's not been confirmed from anything I saw, but from most of the sources, it seems like it was a $2 billion buyout. So what is the reason why Meta bought it? Well, first of all, it could fit into Meta's WhatsApp business as an assistant they can offer both to consumers and businesses, particularly around the business applications on what a business can do if they're set up with Meta WhatsApp. There's a variety of just finance, marketing, ticketing, sales, if you use WhatsApp to be able to collect certain proceeds before you actually deliver a product. So that from an agentic perspective could be something really important. The second thing that people are talking about for why this could be really exciting for is the Ray-Ban smart glasses, where you need an autonomous agentic system to kind of run those glasses in the first place. And maybe Meta AI isn't suited, Llama's not suited to be able to actually deliver that type of value, but Manus is inside of like the screen for your glasses. Number three is that this could potentially, so Meta was kind of pioneering open source AI, and they realized open source AI is not really working outside of China. The Chinese have figured out how to crack open source AI. The United States models are primarily closed source. This could be one of the best consumer facing closed source agentic platforms. And that is really important when we think about what's going to happen in 2026 in regards to one of Meta's biggest competitors, which is Apple. So Apple and Google, one of the biggest things that I think a lot of us are expecting next year is that the Gemini partnership, which has been rumored for a long time, has never really been confirmed by both sides, but seems inevitable that it's going to happen. Gemini 3 will serve as the foundation for Siri to actually be useful going into 2026. In order for Siri to be useful, it's got to be agentic. It can't just be an LLM that's trying to give you an answer. It's got to be an LLM that takes an action. Well, honestly, what is the biggest thing we're missing in consumer AI? It is LLMs that take actions. I mean, the biggest thing that I think I'm missing and that everyone else is missing here is that ChatGPT can't literally do many of the things that we want it to do. And I'm sure ChatGPT is working on this, so they're going to have their own version of agentic workflows going into next year for the consumer. But like, it's not there at that level yet. And if Meta cracks it, they've got 4 billion people using their products every day. I mean, if there's a world where they can actually integrate into your personal life, they already have a lot of your personal data. And I know a lot of people are skeptical of giving their emails to Meta, for example, but if it actually gets the job done with this Manus acquisition in a meaningful way, I mean, you might have a lot of people that already don't care about the switching costs when it comes from going to LLM to LLM. They might go to Meta's platform if it actually really is effective. Most iPhones, Android phones have a Instagram, WhatsApp, or Facebook app downloaded as well. So it's not like they don't have access to a lot of consumers. So look, I think this makes sense. I think it's an exciting move from Meta. I've seen a lot of other people today compare this to the Instagram acquisition. They got Instagram for $1 billion. People are saying that if this ends up becoming what it could be for agentic workflows, particularly for the consumers, this could be a theoretical Instagram-like acquisition. I think it's maybe too early to say that, but nonetheless, you've got a lot of people speculating it from that perspective. WhatsApp, again, they got for 14 billion. WhatsApp's worth a lot more than 14 billion today. Instagram, they got for 1 billion. Instagram's worth 500x that today. I mean, realistically, you could command a $500 billion premium, doing about 50 billion in sales. And so then the question just becomes, all right, what is this going to do for their AI ambitions? And so that's the update we have from Meta. I also think it was important they do this. Again, my biggest concern about Meta, as much as I think they're undervalued and trading at 17 times earnings, doesn't really make sense when you've got other companies that are trading at way higher premiums that don't have the revenue growth, don't have the margins, is that Zuck still hasn't convinced the street that he knows what he's doing with this CapEx outside of increasing ad targeting efficiency, which it's really important. It's good. It's definitely worth a higher multiple, but is it worth the many, many billions, which next year is probably going to inch towards 90 billion. Last year was 72 billion of CapEx that they're spending. And I think that narrative is still a big issue for Zucks going into next year. And this is one way to combat that narrative by saying, hey, we are not only getting talent, but we are getting products like a Manus AI that can be directly integrated with our products. And if that's the case, maybe that creates some more momentum. Are we buying more Meta on this? Not really. I mean, I just don't think we have to be too impatient. I think it would be, if you have some meta right here, is buying at 650 the deal of the century? Probably not. Now, when it got to 585 back in November, that was the time to really get excited about it. I don't know if right now is the time to be super, super energized to buy this, but I do think we're going to get earnings in about 4 weeks for everybody. So in a month, we will know a lot about what's happening with these companies. I think earnings growth should still be strong. We looked at a couple charts yesterday showing that earnings growth since 2022 has been like fundamentally the reason for why you could explain the bull market that we've had, the multiple expansion that we've had. This is the chart that we looked at. I think it's a really important thing to internalize. 79% of 2025's year-to-date growth has been from earnings in the S&P 500 as a percentage of the contribution to the S&P 500 price return. 21% of the 17% move that we've had this year has been multiple expansion. 79% has been earnings growth. So is the multiple the highest the multiple has been in history at 26 times? Yes. Does it make people nervous that the multiple is that high? Yes. But is there some level of justification that's not rooted in just euphoria for why that multiple is expanding? Yeah, and you're seeing it on the screen right there. 79% of the 17% of the S&P 500 return has been due to earnings, whereas in 2024, that was 55%, still amazing. 2023 was 27%, but as you can see, it's scaling pretty nicely every single year. And so from that perspective, I think, yeah, there should be bullish for Meta, and hopefully we'll see how this affects their earnings over the coming year. So that's what we've got on Meta, and I think that was the big AI news for the day. Why is Applied Digital pumping? I am not sure. APLD is 3.8%. We're getting actually a decent chunk of the data center plays going green in the pre-markets. Maybe today they flip. Yesterday they were red. APLD to spin off cloud business into a shellco to focus on data center development and construction for hyperscaler clients. Okay, so it looks like they're taking a certain part of the business and spinning it out, which is going to leave the remaining part of the business that is going to be specifically focused on data centers. The proposed business combination with NASDAQ-listed EKSO to form an accelerated focused GPU platform purpose-built for next-generation AI workloads. Okay, so basically more data center progress, if we had to like really sum it up. TSSI, that's up 2.17% as well. AMD's up a little bit. Intel's up a little bit. And then NVIDIA is up a little bit as well. Yeah, let me do the green or red poll in the chat and see what people are thinking. What is your top pick for 2026? I will have an article that comes out later today to discuss more in depth what I'm thinking for 2026. That'll probably be out later in the night today. But just off the top of my head, I do think Amazon, from a Mag 7 perspective, should be one of the names that does well. I think it's a really nice coiled spring. I know it's a basic choice. And I have thoughts on other names that are out there. But sleep well at night type of name that should make a move to 300 next year if things go okay. I think it should be Amazon. And if it is Amazon, then hopefully that one starts rewarding investors that have been part of it for a while. EKSO, is that one moving? That one is up, wow, 50%. So this one's a relatively smaller company. Applied Digital is much bigger than them, so that's why these guys are getting a pretty heavy premium right there. That's up 50%. Applied Digital is up 3.83%. TE, this is another energy company. These guys are up 4% because of, let me pull it up right here. They executed a $160 million sale of their Section 45X tax credits. And that's why they ended up getting some love in the pre-markets right here. So executing some of their tax credits, Street is excited about that. All right, so other AI updates. China, what is China doing? Well, apparently they are making sure that if they're going to import these NVIDIA and AMD GPUs, they are going to make sure all the companies inside of China continue to buy chips. This came out this morning. China is mandating 50% domestic equipment rule for chip makers. China is requiring chip makers to use at least 50% domestically made equipment for adding new capacity. 3 people familiar with the matter said, as Beijing pushes to build a self-sufficient semiconductor supply chain. The rule is not publicly documented, but chip makers are seeking state approval to build or expand their plants, and they've been told by authorities in recent months that they must prove through procurement tenders that at least half their equipment will be Chinese made. So not only are they forcing Tencent and Baba and all these companies to make sure that they, yes, can get access to the NVIDIA H200s, but also have to get access to the Huawei chips, even though they're not even as good as the H200s. But now they're trying to make sure that the supply chain and the procurement process to actually build out the fabs, the data centers, and the chips themselves are going to be rooted in Chinese product, which, look, at the end of the day, it makes sense. And it's definitely something that the CCP would do. But it also, once again, complicates the broader issues around, hey, like, will China actually fully accept an American-based supply chain when it comes to AI? And I don't know if the answer to that question is yes, but you have a lot more regimes from the Chinese government forcing that to be the case. NVIDIA right there, up a little bit in the pre-market. This isn't necessarily bearish for the AI companies in the United States, especially because they already got approved for selling a couple weeks ago. But it definitely means that the Chinese companies are going to keep procuring from the other Chinese companies in order to keep building these chips. Silver, that's up 5%. All right, so what's going on with silver? Honestly, there's a couple of different narratives going on this morning with silver, but the China supply shortage, I think, is the biggest narrative to pay attention to, or the perceived China supply shortage. The argument is pretty simple. There's a structural shortage in supply when it comes to silver, and the Chinese have been exploiting this shortage, and they've been showing via what they've been doing in the exporting markets around how silver is actually being distributed across the world, for why there's that big of a shortage, and why yesterday's dip, although it was ugly, is not convincing the hardcore silver bulls that the party is over, because their argument is there is 50% industrial use cases from silver. That is a fact, and we know that's a fact. And you had Elon Musk comment over the weekend about how serious it is that the price of silver is going higher. So you have the big guys getting a little concerned that silver prices are going to affect their supply chains. And then you have China's manipulation. So you got a lot of people just wondering, why should I sell my silver and get super panicked about it when I know that this is not some random digital commodity that people might one day think has no value. This is something that's actually being used in all the things that matter when it comes to AI, data centers, etc. And then number two, there's a supply shortage. And so boom, and the sort of, I think the reason for the 10% swing yesterday, which was a 20% swing over the past 2 trading days, was because of the euphoria that got to the trade, which allowed it to top out a little bit. But if it's not that euphoric, if it forms a base and people end up coming in to buy a 10% dip, and then it takes some time to get back to that 86 level that we saw 2 nights ago, but it ends up getting there, then it starts to be a more healthy consolidation versus a euphoric up and down swing. Yeah, solar panels as well is one of the things we talked about yesterday. That's also needing silver in a very heavy way. Now, could this also be a bull trap? I mean, sure. This is why I'm saying I think the smartest thing to do here is just be on the sidelines. You don't have to win every trade. It's not easy to win every trade. And so I think it's important to analyze what's happening in the trade just to be a more well-rounded investor. But the idea of going directionally long or short, if you've completely missed the trade, I think doesn't make much sense, because you really don't know when the top is. And quite frankly, if you're buying a falling knife, it also is going to sting badly if this thing ends up fading out. So I think for that reason, you just watch and see what ends up happening here. Silver 47 discovers new high-grade massive sulfide zone at Red Mountain Project. As per Cactus Jack right there, Silver 47, I saw their name. Oh, they're an exploration company for silver. Yes. There's a couple of headlines about them on Saturday. Silver 47 discovers new high-grade massive sulfide zone at the Red Mountain Project. Well, any discovery of new ways to either mine, procure, or get silver, there's the press release I'm seeing right here. That I don't think deals with the structural shortage that exists in silver, but it definitely can get more people excited about this. Silver 47 is pleased to report results from a property-wide prospecting and rock sampling program from its wholly owned Red Mountain project located in Alaska. The rock sampling project covered a wide, dispersed 60-kilometer trend and identified multiple new under-drilled silver-rich polymetallic occurrences. Huh. Dude, this thing is serious. Look at these charts. This thing is so serious. I have never looked into commodities as much as I have in the past 72 hours, but All right, there you go. Silver miner talking about potentially finding new ways to get access to silver. Again, I don't think it's resolving the broader structural deficit that we're seeing, or at least that is perceived to be had. But more supply is definitely needed to get that price to officially come down. And this is also in Alaska. So that's what you got on silver. Again, I'm on the sidelines on this one. I'll love to see how this plays out, but it's just really hard to be super excited up or down on what this trade ends up looking like. OpenAI headline, SoftBank has fully funded OpenAI's commitment for $40 billion. Okay, that is officially in as per CNBC. I'm happy that that's happened because OpenAI really needs the money, and we need to make sure that OpenAI is still successful because they kind of have to keep this party going. So SoftBank's either making a WeWork type of decision. If anyone doesn't remember what they've done with WeWork, they lost $4 or $5 billion, and they realistically got too excited too quickly about an idea that was just not sustainable. I don't think that's the same with OpenAI. But either it's going to be a WeWork moment for them, or it's going to be 40 billion turning into 4 trillion one day. I mean, the fact that they sold NVIDIA to put this money into OpenAI just shows how committed they are to the OpenAI thesis. And it looks like that's why you've got 40 billion coming in today. FOMC minutes, I think, is going to be at 2 p.m. Today. So we'll get a read of what the Fed is saying. A lot of people are saying there's going to be some Fed emergency meeting about liquidity. Again, there's just a lot of accounts on Twitter that's, post random stuff and people get super excited about those things. But yeah, there will be minutes today later. There's not some emergency meeting they're having to get rid of interest rates. This means silver miners are still a better bet from silver than here. So silver miners, we talked about this yesterday. Silver miners are being priced as if silver is trading at $30, $40 an ounce, which is quite interesting. The reason for that is because a lot of these miners have not increased their capacity or ramped up their production because they didn't expect the amount of demand to exist in the way that it has existed. So they haven't really, they've done very well, but they haven't caught up to the actual price that silver should be trading at. Now, if you look at their EBITDA multiples, their earnings multiples, you would say that these miners should not be getting any sort of multiple just because the numbers don't make that much sense. But I mean, if at the end of the day, if they're a proxy towards the underlying asset, which has quadrupled in the past year, and the miners have only doubled, I mean, there still is upside, one could argue. But you have to really believe in that momentum to get into that trade. And I don't know. I feel like it's a little scarier to believe in that momentum and jump into the trade here. Even if the trade ends up working out, I think the risk reward is a little bit tougher. But the risk reward is also tough to the downside if you think you're going to short it. So I think it's a wait and see and get a little bit more data before we decide what's going on with silver. So that's what we got with SLV. Tesla was down 3% yesterday. Didn't have a lot of details for why. I guess you could say just high beta growth stocks were down, even though Tesla was down the most out of most of those other names. Tesla right there, 463 in the pre-markets. That's up 0.77%. So getting a little bit of recovery right there, but it did hit 459 yesterday as that one went down yesterday by about 3%. Under Armour got a big insider buy. So we're seeing a lot more of these insider buys for retail companies. We saw this with Nike already with 2 different insiders, including Tim Cook, who's on the board. You've got one of these insiders. This is Prem Watsa and Affiliates, which are a 10% owner. They bought a lot. They bought 15.6 million shares last week from December 22nd to December 29th at an average of $4.53. I have never really looked at Under Armour. The stock right here is at $4.54 right now. Year to date, it's down 37%. But 15 million shares from an already 10% owner seems to be a hell of a vote of confidence. And so maybe that alone is something to at least think about when it comes to Under Armour. I don't like the business. I don't like Nike as the business, but I do think Nike has a broader moat than Under Armour. But if these guys are buying that many shares, maybe there's something exciting here. 50 million shares isn't a lot. That's fair. It's about $71 million. But still, it makes you wonder, hey, maybe they know something's going to happen. And maybe you look at it. I don't remember the last time I bought something from Under Armour either. And that's obviously why they gave Steph Curry so much money, because he was the person leading the brand to get back to some momentum. But I really don't remember the last time I bought a single thing from Under Armour. And, maybe that's why the stock is also down about 37% year to date. The big meta move was them acquiring a Singapore company, not a Chinese company. Don't make that mistake, because then you'll look racist. It was a Singaporean company, Manus AI. We talked about it 20 minutes ago. Seems like there's going to be a lot of implications for what they can do from an agentic perspective, and I think it makes sense. But I think you're going to have to show actual earnings growth from these types of acquisitions for the move to really be respected. And so we're going to see over the coming, essentially, months what this acquisition looks like going into next year. Here is Stacy from Bernstein and his thoughts on 2026 and what happens with the semiconductor trade.
Here, the Journal writes a long story today, talking about the various gating issues, whether it's lack of transformers for the power or memory. How do you see things evolving next year?
Yeah, I think it probably still goes. It's funny, like our general call in 25, if I wanted to sum it up, was kind of own the high quality AI names, ignore most of the rest. And I guess you could have owned the lower quality AI names too, but I mean, AI was working pretty well. And I actually don't think it stops in 2026. You can look at the forecasts that companies like NVIDIA or Broadcom have put out. You can look at where the current estimates are, and they're still way below that. I think there's still plenty of room for numbers to move higher. And even valuations are not crazy for a lot of these names. NVIDIA, Broadcom. I mean, NVIDIA's in the low 20s price to forward earnings for amazing growth. I understand all the worries about like peak spending and digestion cycles and everything else, but I mean, look, people have been worried about that since this started. And kind of look at where things are going. That clearly wasn't a problem in 25. If you look at like the committed volumes that are already there, it's probably not an issue for 2026. And assuming OpenAI does execute on their commitments, and we'll see, but if that happens, it doesn't even start until the end of 26, that spending. So it may not even be 2027 either. I think this trade still has legs. I think so.
Yeah. So, all right, you and I may be having the same conversation a year from now.
Maybe.
I am curious, though, because we are going to be discussing more, the competition to the extent that NVIDIA faces any at all. But whether it's Alphabet's TPU, which certainly we've been talking a lot about of late, whether it's Broadcom trying to help OpenAI design its own chip, because you got to get cost per token per dollar per watt down over there versus your competitor Gemini. How do you see that evolving in 26?
Yeah, so there's always competition. This is semiconductors, so it's on NVIDIA as well as on all these other players to make sure that they're moving their roadmaps along and keeping innovation going. And I've said this, I think, on the show in the past, but I still think right now it's sort of, I understand the nervousness, the narrative swings back and forth, GPU, TPU, and back again. It's one reason we've advocated owning both NVIDIA and Broadcom. Like, you never know which way it's going to swing in any given moment. I still think it's the wrong time to really worry about that in general. I think the right question asked today is the opportunity in front of us still big, or is it not? Like, rather than who's winning or losing, because presumably we're not in a mature, saturated market yet. If you think we are, like, there's a whole other set of questions you might want to ask. But in a world where things I think are still growing like massively, if the opportunity is still big, then everybody thrives. And if it's not big, then everybody's screwed, right? So I don't think we're at the point yet where I necessarily, from a fundamental basis, have to worry about who's winning and losing. I would just own the space, frankly.
And, I could not agree more. If the opportunity is big, everyone wins. If the opportunity is not as big as it seems, everyone is quite literally screwed. So when Stacy says own the entire space, one of the easiest ways to play this next year is just buy SMH. SMH's up 48% this year, nearly triple the S&P 500. If you had just bet on semiconductors once again in 2025, after the previous 3 years, you would have vastly outperformed. And you didn't even have to pick NVIDIA, Broadcom, AMD, Intel. You could have just picked the semiconductor ETF. So the question is, and you can put in the chat right here, do we really think SMH can return another 50% next year? Because I think there's a world where it can, but it obviously just gets really hard to believe that they can follow up those types of reactions, or those types of reactions towards the overall market sentiment every single year, which in this case would be four years in a row. And the thing that's really interesting about this is, you think NVIDIA would make Dan Ives' top 5 list, and it's not even there. Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, Palantir, CrowdStrike, all 5 amazing companies. But he doesn't have NVIDIA there, which I thought was quite interesting last night. His argument is he wants the derivative plays of AI, not just like the epicenter picks and shovels, which at some point to me is signaling that he thinks there's more upside in the beneficiaries of the software applications of AI, the infrastructure applications of AI, not necessarily the core picks and shovels. And you can't necessarily blame him because that story has played out. I mean, even if NVIDIA doubles from here, it's basically a $9 trillion company, which is phenomenal. But you can't be in NVIDIA for a double, at least not in the short term, unless you think they're going to add another $4 or $5 trillion in market cap next year. So realistically, your upside in NVIDIA is probably not a double, at least now. But maybe these other names, he thinks there's going to be a lot more momentum going into it. Now, if NVIDIA does double over the next 2 or 3 years, I think it would be pretty incredible. And obviously that means SMH probably is going to do well. Yeah, a decent amount of people saying it would be tough to imagine SMH 50% up next year. I do think, though, I mean, a lot of these names, like a Broadcom, which Broadcom at 420, that valuation was aggressive, but it's fallen down. NVIDIA from 210, it's fallen down. AMD was at 260. The good thing about the little sell-off that we had in November and the lack of recovery on those names going into the end of December, we've had recovery in a lot of other sectors of the market, like healthcare and financials, that has led to the broad-based rally that has kept the S&P 500 basically at all-time highs. But we didn't have tech necessarily rebound at the level at where it was a month and a half ago. And that's actually good because going into 2026, the expectations aren't crazy with NVIDIA trading at $240. It's like, no, NVIDIA's at 180. It's been stuck at 180 for the past couple months now. And if they put up a good earnings, they should be able to healthily get above 200 and stay above 200 and then probably make the next leg up. Same thing with Broadcom going into the 400 level. And that also would carry SMH to a lot more momentum as well. So we got to see. We got to see how this can also play out. Ross of Grok says NVIDIA is a $10 trillion company by 2030. Yeah, there was a great YouTube short I watched last night by the co-founder of Grok, Jonathan Ross. Let me pull it up right here. And basically his argument was that we are the best thing that could happen for NVIDIA. And the reason for that was essentially the level of, let me just pull up the clip right here. The level of demand that inference is going to create for GPUs and training in general goes back and forth. It helps them and it helps NVIDIA. And so let's pull up this clip right here because I thought this was a really, really important point that he made yesterday as well.
Comparatively cost effective compared to you. Like you could destroy their margin.
But why would, so in that same vein, you can almost say we're one of the best things that's ever happened to NVIDIA because they can make every single GPU that they were going to make and they can sell it for training, high margin, right? Gets amortized across the deployment. And, you know, we'll take the low margin, high volume inference business off their hands and they won't have to sell either margin.
What's low margin?
Anywhere from, depending on the deal, we do get some on the backside, but up front, it's about 20%.
About 20%.
Yeah.
Okay. So theirs is 80, yours is 20, but then you're looking at a 20x.
But then we get more later off of it. So we take some of the risk.
What do you mean?
So his argument right there is that if we are providing more demand for inference, which is leading to more demand for training models, which is why you buy the GPUs from NVIDIA, you can buy our technology for the inference, but if you have more inference, you have more training, which means you have more guarantee that NVIDIA will sell more GPUs. And I think that synopsis is also why there was a synergistic relationship between why NVIDIA decided to buy Grok and get them out of the marketplace, also from a defensive perspective to make sure that Broadcom or AMD or the other guys, or even Google, didn't acquire them. And Grok, I read yesterday, was on pace for $1.64 billion of revenue in 2026. The valuation was at $7 billion. So NVIDIA is basically paying 20 times sales, 3x the current valuation. That's not that, like, I'd rather they do that than give me a dividend. Like, it makes more sense for them to take advantage of actually loading up on an asset that is probably gonna be more value for them. So now the question is, just next year, can this data center demand continue at the level that we think it's going to continue? And if it does, SMH, the data center plays, those should get the momentum that they're getting. One argument on data centers is around commercial real estate. Here's an update on that and where the intersections are between commercial real estate and the ability to scale these data centers going into 2026.
CRE leaders are slightly less optimistic than they were ahead of 2025. That, according to a Deloitte survey, 83% of respondents said they expect their revenues to improve by the end of 2026. That's compared with 88% last year. Fewer respondents said they plan to increase spending, while more expect to keep spending flat. 68% said they anticipate higher expenses overall next year. Sentiment is down from last year, but well above that of 2023. Okay, so let's drill down on specific sectors, starting with office, which seems to have bottomed. Vacancy rates are expected to drop below 18% as more tenants return to the market. That, according to Colliers. There will continue to be a flight to quality as Class A buildings in many markets are now almost fully occupied. Office construction is also at its lowest level in over 3 decades, according to Yardi. Now, in multifamily, rents are starting to ease as a record level of new supply continues to make it through the pipeline. Multifamily has led investment sales volume since 2015, and there are no signs of this changing, but its share of total volume is expected to ease somewhat as investors allocate more capital to things like office, data centers, and retail, according to Colliers. Speaking of data centers, the darling of 2025, with demand significantly outpacing supply, Deloitte called the sector a clear bright spot in the U.S. commercial real estate landscape. It pointed to 9 major global markets where 100% of the new construction pipeline is already fully pre-leased. Data centers, however, do face some headwinds in financing, grid capacity, which we talk about a lot, zoning, and even local politics. Now, for the outlook on more sectors as well as property tech.
Now, why are data centers getting leased before the year even starts, going into 2028, 2 years in advance? It's potentially because of this chart right here. So this is a chart of some of the leading AI startups that are scaling at an unprecedented level. This is also one of the reasons I think it's easy to push back against the AI bubble narrative. So you've got many companies that are doing at least $1 billion in ARR. OpenAI and Anthropic are doing well above that. Databricks is doing around $4.5 billion. But you got a ton of these names like a Canva, Cursor, that have achieved 1 billion ARR because of AI as the tailwind. Then you've got companies that are doing 200 million in ARR. Your Perplexity, your Lovable, which just raised at a new valuation, your Glean, 11 Labs, your Manus AI that just got acquired today by Meta for $2 billion. And then you have companies that are doing 100 million in ARR, like Sierra, which is essentially trying to replace customer call service centers. You got Harvey, which is AI for lawyers, essentially. If we see more and more and more of those companies continue to raise at the levels that they're raising based on their growth, again, I don't think these companies are getting crazy valuations, which is different from 2021. 2021, you had NFT companies like OpenSea getting $14 billion valuations, and there was no growth, or there was no meaningful sustainable growth for you to be excited that NFTs would actually take off and those companies deserve those valuations. So a lot of the Web3 crypto stuff in 2021 just didn't have momentum. But these companies, I mean, you're going from 0 to 10 months, $100 million of revenue. You don't go from 0 to 100 million on hype. Like that's just not happening. Like Harvey, which is, I don't know if anyone here has used Harvey, but I've studied them a little bit, and just like through reading some articles about why lawyers are using them. And you would think like, well, okay, well, lawyers, a law firm can just sign an enterprise deal with ChatGPT and ChatGPT can secure the data, yada. Well, apparently these AI companies have figured out how to use the underlying technology behind GPT, which are their essentially APIs, and really tailor them towards a specific use case. Rocket Lab, by the way, up 4% in the pre-markets, in this case for legalities and the lawyer space, which is what Harvey is specialized for. So I don't know how many of those hyper-specific AI LLM companies are going to exist in different sectors. But the point is there's more than there definitely were back in 2021 when we thought there was going to be this massive like revolution in technology via Web3. It feels like it's actually happening with AI. And because it's actually happening with AI, if those companies can continue to grow at this scale, they're going to need a lot of capacity from Microsoft and Amazon and Google from a cloud computing perspective, and all those companies are going to have to continue buying GPUs for these data centers, which should be good for Nebius, Iran, and CoreWeave because like it all is interconnected. It just can't flop. It doesn't feel like it's going to flop. As long as it doesn't flop, 2026 hopefully has at least that tailwind on its side. All right, here we go. 14 seconds. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It is Tuesday, December 30th. Last 2 days of the market being open for 2025. We're going to see if we can make a run towards the end of the year. 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. All right, wake your ass up. Let's get into it. Wow, green across the board. NVIDIA, green. Broadcom, green. Rocket Lab, 5% green. Tesla, green. T1 Energy, green. TSSI, green. Silver, green. Meta, green. Applied Digital, green. SoFi, green. AMD is green. Intel is green. Palantir is green at 184. Robinhood is green at 117. You are seeing a lot of green across the board. A couple pockets of red. Visa, MasterCard, Snapchat, D-Wave is green. You got the quantum stocks going green. Netflix goes red. UiPath goes red. AppLovin, this one has continued to be red since yesterday, but basically at $700. Can't complain too much about that. Ondas is red a little bit. But right out the gate, you got a pretty green open, which is exciting to see. S&P 500 is flat, so S&P is not going green. You don't have enough of a boost on some of the Mag 7 names to actually get that momentum yet. Meta 660 after the acquisition. That's up just a little bit on the day. NVIDIA 188. She's trying to break back into that 190 range, which would be exciting for NVIDIA. Then where's Microsoft? Microsoft is slightly red, but basically flat at 486. Google, which was green yesterday. Google 314. Google continues to go green. Could this be a little bit of a bull trap? Maybe, but it's not necessarily super bullish. I mean, these stocks are up 0.3, 0.4%. So you're not getting any massive, even 1% moves across the board. Intel, though, 1.7%. So Intel getting a little bit of love. AMD as well, up 0.16%. SoFi, 2692. But you are seeing a bit more momentum than what we saw in the pre-markets. Apple, flat on the day at 273. How about Amazon? Are we at 233? We are at 231 on Amazon. That one's down 0.31%. BMNR is red. That is likely because ETH is red. Well, BMNR is flat also. It's down 9 cents. Nothing that crazy. Ethereum basically flat since the morning. Bitcoin also basically flat since the morning. 87.89. We did get to 88.2. Now back down to 87.98. Again, it feels like it's been Bitcoin and Ethereum in the tightest range that it's been in a long time, within this $300-400 range of going up and down. And then where is MSTR, which did buy another 1,000 Bitcoin yesterday? MicroStrategy 155. That one is red. Tesla goes straight red. Okay, so Tesla was not able to hold on. Something's going on with Tesla, dude. Yesterday it fell off a cliff. After hours, it kept falling off. Today, I think there wasn't any hint of green as soon as the market opened. NVIDIA barely holding on to its green. Meta at least getting a little bit more excitement. S&P now still red. Palantir and Robinhood just flipped red. Amazon still red. BMNR just flipped green for a second. Google making a move. By the way, Google yesterday fell 5% after hours. Robinhood actually sent a notification that Google was down 5%. It was a glitch, but Google, I mean, maybe it wasn't a glitch, but it was like for a millisecond, it was enough to trigger a Robinhood notification, which means it had to have happened for at least a couple seconds for Robinhood to give you a notification on it. But Google right here now, 316, that's up about 1%. VG getting some love as well. Look at that, 722. That's up almost 3%. On the day, Nebius is flat to green. Iren is also up 1%, so outperforming Nebius today. And then CoreWeave is flat. Again, it's just not the type of crazy, exciting momentum. Even the green, as soon as the market, NVIDIA just went red. Even the green, it was like 0.3, 0.4%, which is good, but it's not enough to convince you it's going to hold on. Rocket Lab, though, making you think it could actually have a 5% day right there. 3.88% now, 72.93, down from 73.70. Silver is up 7%. It was up 9%. So a little bit of a decline, but still up a decent chunk from yesterday's down 11% candle. Gold is up 1.26%. But Rocket Lab right here at 72%. Triple V, thank you for the 40,000. What is that currency? Can anyone in the chat name that? I have no idea. This is definitely Triple V's account. I have zero idea where he's sending the super chat from. What is that, dude? It looks like a rabbit. What is that currency? Yen? Oh, that's a yen? Is he in Japan right now? Okay, there you go. That's yen. Yeah, that's definitely him because 40,000 Japanese yen is $250, and he usually sends $200. All right, so I guess Triple V is in Japan right now. I don't know why he's in Japan, but thank you, sir, for the 40,000 yen super chat. Wow, I've never seen a yen before in my life. You would think if you study the yen carry trade, you at least know what the damn thing looks like, but I'm seeing what it looks like for the first time today. Thank you, Triple V, and thank you for being here. 668. By the way, he's in VG. He bought VG at 661 last week. So he is in VG, and you got VG right here up 4% on the day, 730. Haven't seen the mid sevens in a while on VG. I think it's been more than a month. So nice to see this one actually getting moved. If it can hold it by the end of the day, that'd be very exciting. But VG right there, that's up 4%. Amazon again, down 0.5% on the day. The Googs 315, that's holding on. Meta getting some love after their acquisition. After their acquisition of Manus AI for likely $2 billion, 667 for Meta, as that is up 1.3% on the day. That is leading the S&P 500 in terms of the Mag 7s that are up. Where is Oscar? That one, 1457. The Oscar CEO did get a bunch of performance stock-based comp yesterday in the new plan. So if you're bullish Oscar, you are very aligned with the CEO to get that stock to go higher for him to get paid. Lemonade right there, that's down about 0.53%. Where is Lulu? They are on search for a new CEO. That stock is flat on the day. Saidu Space, that's up 11%. Lockheed Martin's up a little bit. Next Decade, that's up 1.4%. ASTS, that should be green with Rocket Lab. ASTS is green. That's up 5.2% on the day as that goes green. And Bitcoin back to 88. Back to 88. Fermi, they were down 40% last week off losing one of their data center clients. They're up 8% on the day. But these guys just went public a couple months ago, and they got hit pretty bad a couple weeks ago after losing one of their main clients. Bitmine right there, that's up 0.5% as well at 28.69. Serve Robotics, that's green. That's up 6%. That's actually a nice little move. Maybe they got an upgrade this morning. Got Serve Robotics going green. Also from Bloomberg, Chinese generative AI startup Minimax is lining up Alibaba and Abu Dhabi's investment authority as cornerstone investors for a Hong Kong IPO. I've never heard of Minimax before. I'm sure there's some people in the chat that have heard of it, but Minimax, Chinese generative AI startup looking to go public in the Hong Kong stock markets. $600 million is what they're trying to raise, and they are getting the Middle East involved along with Alibaba. Never heard of Minimax before. See, there's a lot more of these AI companies, and if they're able to actually have the financials ready to go public, then you are seeing some more progress right here. Minimax apparently is a their mission is to build AGI. They have 150 million users, and they have a variety of products from video generation, audio generation, and text generation. So it seems like another one of these, I don't want to say foundation model companies, but foundation models that are rooted within video generation and photos. At least that's what it feels like. Serve Robotics right there, that is up 7%. VG 724. Coinbase, that's red. Celsius, that's red. Celsius was actually up yesterday. Adobe, that's red. Again, SoftBank has fully funded OpenAI's commitment of $40 billion. That was the headline we got just 5 minutes ago. Oracle, 197. That's good for Oracle. That means OpenAI has the money potentially to pay them for the cloud computing stuff that the street is doubting that Oracle's going to be able, or that OpenAI is going to be able to pay. But Oracle getting some love right there. And then SoFi once again goes red. SoFi is not able to hold above 27. Feels like SoFi is in that same position of a coiled up spring, but this one's just gone back and forth between 25 to 27. Rivian goes red. Rivian, 1999. Yes, that is down about 3%. Let's get a little bit of coverage on this Meta acquisition, because that is the big news in the morning, and that's what's helping Meta get some love right here. But again, we talked about it during the beginning of the show. It does seem like this acquisition is the best acquisition they've done. It seems way better than Scale AI and data labeling. It seems like they actually bought an agentic platform that they could integrate into WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram that could actually be useful for all their users. on those platforms.
Purchase. It's small, $2 billion or more than is what the journal is citing. This is their story. It's a Singapore-based company, and they previewed an AI agent last March, apparently, that was capable of producing detailed research reports and building custom websites using other AI models that were developed by the likes of Anthropic or China's Alibaba. We've talked often about Meta's spending, which is virtually at a par with some of the hyperscalers, such as Microsoft and Alphabet or Amazon. They all have cloud businesses.
Right.
Meta does not. And yet this would seem to indicate their focus perhaps on really trying to compete in terms of AI agents and how important that's going to be as 2026 gets started.
Really fast growing company. In December, apparently it had crossed $100 million in annual recurring revenue 8 months after it had launched. I think the other interesting fact here is that it has Chinese founders, right? So is it part of the Chinese AI ecosystem or the US ecosystem? I know it's a Singapore-based company, but I knew.
So that's why I said this morning that it was a Chinese company. I was wrong. It's not a Chinese company. I knew I read in some article that there was some Chinese component of it. And apparently it seems like their founders are Chinese, even though the company is in Singapore. But yeah, there is some questions about, where this technology and the talent actually came from. Micron right there, all-time highs, folks. All-time highs, 298 on Micron. I will check resistance for 300. But again, if you've been a Micron investor, congrats. This one has been a massive, massive winner over the past 2 years. 300 resistance on Micron, 72,000 shares. 72,000 shares to get Micron above that $300 level. Zeta right there, 2057. Zeta, I'm actually very impressed with the price action. It got rejected yesterday at 20, fell all the way to 1980, and then actually recovered. Just looking at the price over the past couple months, it last time it hit 20 was in November. It takes like a month to recover certain key levels. So the fact that it actually got bought up yesterday and is holding this $20 level, I think is pretty bullish. And now if it can crack above 22, that's when things can get exciting. But Zeta holding on to 20. Apple right there, 273. Google, 313. NVIDIA was red. Wow, 187. All right, so that officially loses 188. It was holding on to that all the pre-market. That one just went down. S&P at 687. Where is Grabby Grab? We are at 511. Flat on the day. I think Grab, just like SoFi, coiling up. One catalyst should be what you need that actually breaks both of them out. And I think for SoFi, quite frankly, it's earnings more than anything. For Grab, I think it's go-to. But I think SoFi's going to have good earnings. I think Noto's got something up his sleeve. And hopefully we say goodbye to the 20s and we enter the 30s going into those Q1 results, which we're probably going to get around January, like the end of January. 27, 28, 29th is usually when they report those earnings. Oklo's down 1% a day. There was an article by the Financial Times that I thought it was a very interesting article, and it's why some of the nuclear SMR, small modular reactor names, are down today, and they were down in the pre-markets. And the article headline was, many nuclear reactors are already losing their glow. More efficient chips, such as Google's TPU, could kibosh the exponential growth charts illustrating data center demand. That serves as another reminder capital-intensive industries can get sidelined by fast-moving technology. So it's not necessarily an argument that nuclear energy or energy demand in general is not needed. It's that there are certain energy-efficient ways for these companies that are building chips and data centers to evolve that will obviously require a ton of energy, but it might not require the massive, massive levels of we need to build 1,500 SMRs tomorrow to be able to deal with the energy demand. And again, when Oklo doesn't have any earnings, doesn't really have any massive, massive progress that can be quantified. So when you have headlines like that just chip away at the underlying narrative, which is what's holding up a lot of the nuclear stocks, that's why this thing goes down 1.4%. It peaked out at 198. S&P was around 670 at the time. Oklo is now at 73. S&P is basically at 690. So the S&P has fully recovered, even with Oklo not recovering. Rock Lab right there, that's up 3%. And then Broadcom, that's up 0.25%. SoFi is on the 26th. Did they already report? Is on the 26th? It's usually around that time frame. The 26th is, is that a Tuesday? January 26th? No, it's a Monday. Okay, that might be one of the first fintech companies we get to start off earnings. ASTS, that's up 5%. Again, Micron still holding on to that high 290s. Pounter is down 1%. That's right. Silver up 6%, 5.87. It is silver's up the lowest it's been over the past couple hours. It was up 9% at one point. So you are seeing a reversal at the height of the gains, but it's hasn't flipped red completely. Lulu's flat, and then VG up about 2%. Lunar's up another 7%. So Lunar, we talked about this last week, Intuitive Machines, they're up 3.7% now. These guys are also being seen as a catch-up trade in the space race. And that's why they're also potentially getting some love as well. AISP is up 18%. Is this a small cap? Airship AI, $111 million company, up 18%. Airship AI, I've never heard of this company. Real-time actionable intelligence inside of logistics, defense, law enforcement. I'm looking at their website right now. Seems like they work with the Chicago police, the Virginia State Police, the Houston Police. Looks like they're a law enforcement rooted AI company. Airship AI provides a fully integrated ecosystem of AI-driven solutions, enabling customers in law enforcement, defense, and intelligence to extract the data they need when they need it, where they need it. Okay, so it seems like it's a smaller AI platform in the SaaS space, but tailored towards a certain group of clients. That's up 18% on the day. ASTS, that's up 3.8%, and then Oracle up 0.5%. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Axon. Even though Axon, dude, this thing got hit for the year, right? After their last earnings. Axon year to date is down. It's only down 3%, but it topped out at 870. Now it's at 570. It was 870 on August 7th before earnings. So Axon always traded at a really aggressive multiple, but I think it just caught up to them. I mean, look at that chart. 65 cents in 1991, got up to 800. Sorry, this is Micron. If we look at Axon's max chart, 27 cents back in 2002, got up to 885 back in August, and now down to 570. Kind of crazy. But these guys definitely have a moat. There's not that many companies doing body cameras and offering the software they provide to build on top of body cameras, but it's also like not easy to fully get excited about their multiple. Oscar right there, that's up 1%. VG's up 1.5. All the data center names go red, including Nebius, Iran, and Corey. Tesla down almost a full 1%. This one's still getting hit, 455 now. And S&P, are we red? S&P, we are red. I think we're getting some macro data. Let me pull this up. Chicago PMI, we just got, it looks like it's a beat. 43.5 versus 40. Does not look horrible for those PMIs.
Breaking news of the morning, our December read on Chicago PMI, expecting a number around 40. Much better, 43.5. That'll be the best read since October, and last month's 36.3. Well, that was the lowest level going back to May of 24, so a decent rebound. It is the 24th consecutive month in contraction territory. We haven't been above 50 going all the way back to November of 2023. You want to pay particularly close attention to the foreign exchange market today, especially the dollar versus the Chinese currency. It's at a 2.5-year extreme. And Squawk on the Street will return after a short break.
Okay, so PMI is good. I mean, market's not loving it on a day, I think, with a little bit more higher volume. You might see the market react to that a bit more in depth. S&P just went green. Maybe that's off PMI. We got to see if we can hold any of this green, even though PMI was 4 minutes ago. So maybe it's a little bit of a delayed reaction if it is going green. But let's see. Can we hold on? 688. Can we make a run to at least 690 today? Can we make that run to 690? It also does feel like volume is down. Just looking at some of these volume stats. I mean, I know it's only been 20 minutes, but it does feel, even yesterday, it felt like there was more volume today. Again, it's the second to last day of the year. Like, there's just not that much people care about in terms of, I mean, I think your performance is your performance at this point. If you're a fund manager, Like you either beat the S&P or you didn't. I don't know if in the last 2 days you're going to be able to make a trade that helps you beat the S&P. And if the S&P actually does make a rally to 7,000, I mean, whatever stocks you're in, most likely probably rally with it if we get that broad-based market rally. But I don't know. Do we have the energy to get there? Do we really have the energy to get there? They all shorted palladium. Could you imagine if you're a fund manager and you're like, this is how I'm going to beat the S&P. I'm going to go short the last 3 days of the year on commodities because I think it's a bubble. And then it just blows up in front. Like, it's tough to make those trades without having an understanding of the market. ASTS 7%. That's a big move. I mean, if you were in space towards the end of the year, you definitely got rewarded. So that's creating a bit of excitement right there. 76.65 on Mr. ASTS. That's up 7%. And then Nebius, that one trying to go green. 7,000 needs a Trump boost. I don't know if Trump can do anything to get us a boost here. I mean, did you? Some of you guys weren't here on the Market Closer today, but Trump had some questionable statements for JPOW yesterday. It was kind of surprising how angry he was about JPOW, because it's like he gave you the most bullish FOMC you can imagine, but he's thinking of bringing a gross Okay, are we back? Are we back or no? Bro, I think my internet went out. I'm on my hotspot right now. And my hotspot's not good. So my second computer right here. I think it is here. Okay, I don't know if we're back, but yeah, guys, I think my internet went out. Whatever you're seeing right now is my hotspot, which is probably not going to be good. I think this is why the data centers are ruining everybody's life. Okay, so you guys can see me now, right? But it's like it's gonna get hit. It's going to get hit pretty soon because my hotspot is horrible. Dude, genuinely, it's not me. I'm sorry. And I paid my internet bill. It's not the internet bill. I think it's not snowing outside, but it would have to be an entire area thing. Audio good, video is choppy. Yeah, this is weird, dude. This is weird. I don't know why this is happening. This is weird. On my other screen, the actual Wi-Fi is not working at all. I think it's in the entire building, but if it's in the entire building, it's usually they give us a notification if the internet's going to be down. And they didn't this time. So that might be something in the entire city versus the building itself. S&P is actually moving right here. Let me know in the chat if you can see and hear me or if it's super, super laggy. I'm trying to get a little bit more clarity. It's good now. It's good now. See, the thing is, if my hotspot gives out, it might not be the best. But usually they give an announcement if the internet's going to be down. And that's usually when I go home, whenever they make that announcement. All right, so at least we're okay for now. We'll see where this goes from here. Thank you for everyone who stayed. I'm sorry that happened. I know some of these things you can't control. But SoFi right there, 2690, S&P 500, 688.42. Meta making that 670 move. Wow, 670. There you go. Meta 2% on the day. So that one actually making a much bigger move. Dude, the problem at home is that the Wi-Fi at home also sucked because I haven't streamed at home for like a year, or at least like for the past 5 months. So when I went home and I tried to stream like on Wednesday, you guys saw like it was getting choppy and stuff. The internet here is actually really good until it gives out. Like the internet's actually like pretty damn good. Like when I was at home for the past 2 years, there was way more lagginess than what we've had in the past couple months. But I don't know if I'm close to data centers or not, but like it feels like I am. Everything goes out, it goes out. Wow, Zeta trying to make a run to 21 right here. That would be big if she can actually get that $21 move. 2094 right there, up 2.6%. Meta at 671. And then you got the S&P 500 at 688. At 688. Warner Bros. Expected to reject Paramount's bid. Okay, I think we all figured Warner Bros. Was not going to go down that route. The thing I was saying before it paused was Trump is trying to competent suit out. But that's what he said yesterday. And that's why it looked like he was upset at Powell. Even though it's hard to imagine he should be upset. Bitcoin right there, 88.8. 88.8. Is it giving out? It's giving out. It is giving out. All right, guys. I don't know. I mean, there's not much I can do here. I think we have to end it early. If the Wi-Fi is not going to hold up here, then can you guys hear me here a little bit? Yeah, you can hear me, but it's just really choppy. It's good for like a couple minutes, and then it just. It's good. Okay, it's good for the video sucks, which is okay as long as the audio is good. But like, if it keeps messing up again, then it is what it is. I mean, I can't do anything, dude. I'm sorry. I just really can't do anything. This is why we need to stop these stupid data centers, bro. Freaking asking ChatGPT all these pointless questions just to mess up our internet. Like, this is, don't know what else we can do here. Turn the video off. Actually, that does like, hold on. Okay, let's keep the video off for a little bit. If I actually keep the video off, I think that will help. I think that will help. But the screen, okay, yeah, the charts look decent even with the video off. Okay. We're going to keep the video off for a bit. That should help with the mobile bandwidth. Oh boy. All right. Let's keep going. 687 S&P. That was green. It looks like it's about to go red. This one's barely holding on. SoFi just getting demolished every time it tries to make a move. Zeta right there from 21 to 20.79. Got D-Wave making a nice 5% move today. So Quantum getting some lower. That's now 2%. It was 5%. And then Meta getting 670. My mobile bandwidth in general sucks in this location. Like, I've never wanted to rely on my hotspot here. It's just like not a good place for service with my hotspot, which is why I'm thinking that if the Wi-Fi is not going to work, then this might not be easy to make this work. This is the best you've ever looked. Oh my gosh, that's so annoying. That is so freaking annoying. Now you can keep yapping nonstop. Dude, I'm joking about the data center thing, but I really do like the amount of times they've had to upgrade the electric grid for the building. It's been like 3 or 4 times in the past 5 months, which is why I've had to go home so often. And if I knew it was happening today, which I don't think it's happening today, I didn't get any email, but if it is happening today, then I would have gone home last night just to be able to do the show without any issues. But yeah, I joke and say it's the data centers, but I really do think there's realistic concerns around energy, and New Jersey actually does have a decent chunk of data centers. Nebius has one of their data centers in New Jersey. Like, it could be taking away capacity from other local grids, and it is what it is. Go stream from your Tesla. Dude, if the Tesla has better Wi-Fi than the apartment, that would be incredible. Tesla getting a little recovery right there. Actually, a decent recovery. It's almost green. 453 to 459. Maybe that one actually goes green, but is trying. S&P once again flat. Dude, that's the worst thing about these last couple of days going into the end of the year. There's no excitement or momentum. So any bit of jolt that we have, that we see, like we just saw 5 minutes ago on the S&P, it just immediately gets destroyed. And even if you have a Meta that's up 2%, it's not enough to help make things move. NVIDIA right there at 187.44 as well. Whereas Rocket Lab, yeah, 74 to 71. This one also still green, but it is getting hit. Okay, let's see if this works. Let's see. Hopefully I'm not messing up the Wi-Fi here, but I was going to play this Trump clip. Let's see how bad it is to play. Let me know if this clip completely lags or if you guys are able to hear this.
The Federal Reserve. I mean, Biden reappointed him. It's too bad. You would have thought he wouldn't have done that. But he's an absolute fool who's building a new Federal Reserve, or he's doing a renovation of a building. Maybe he's up to $4.1 billion to do a renovation of a few very small buildings. It's the highest price in the history of control. He spent more money than any building has ever spent per square foot on the renovation of, as an example, I'm doing a magnificent, big, beautiful ballroom that the country has wanted, the White House has wanted for 150 years. It's a massive job, and it's a tiny fraction of that number. And we're under budget and ahead of schedule. Now it's bigger than I told you. After realizing we're going to do the inauguration in that building.
So that was Trump yesterday, basically making the argument that he is now going to bring a gross incompetence lawsuit against Powell because of the renovation in the Fed buildings, which again is crazy to me because, I mean, Powell did what Trump wanted, unless he wanted him to do, 25 different cuts every other month. He gave him 3 cuts, and he gave him a really dovish cut last month or a couple weeks ago. But it does still seem like Trump is upset with Powell. So I guess over the next coming weeks, we're going to see who his new Fed chair is. I think it should be Hassett if Trump wants full loyalty. If he wants to make the bond market happy, probably Waller would be the better choice. But you do have still the disagreement within the Fed and Trump's perception of, what the Fed should be doing. The 10-year, by the way, 4.138. This thing's still not coming down, as investors are not necessarily buying up these 10-year bonds. Didn't Trump appoint Powell? Yes, Trump did appoint. That's what I'm saying. Like, if Trump doesn't appoint someone he 1000% believes is going to follow his agenda, he's just going to get into another Powell situation where he thought Powell was on his side. And dude, the funny thing about it, he appointed Powell in 2017. In 2018, Powell was like, yeah, we're hiking rates. And then Trump got into a fight with his Federal Reserve within a year, less than a year of appointing him. And then 2019, we ended up lowering rates, which helped us recover from the 2018 Q4 ugliness that everyone went through. But I think Trump learned from that, and now he wants to get someone who's just going to follow his directions. But the problem is that's not going to go well with the bond market if they're just going to be loyal to you. So I want to say he's going to pick Hassett, but then I also think he might be smart enough to realize Hassett is too much on his side for the bond market to be excited. Micron right there, 295. That one giving up a decent chunk of its gain, still green, but it goes red. Oklo goes red. SoFi struggling to stay green. ASTS, that's holding up. That's 6%. ASTS actually outperforming Rocket Lab today, which makes sense because ASTS got hit over the past couple of days. Rocket Lab still up 1.4. Oh, okay. So the stream is working without the video. All right, so maybe we can get through some more time without the video here. Problem is we're just not seeing anything happen. We're just not seeing anything happen. S&P 687 once again gets rejected. Someone just bought $2 million of AMD 212 calls for January 16th. So you got some AMD option flow coming in. Oh boy. We got another China embassy tweet. Dude, why do they keep talking about Taiwan as much as they are? Like, are they seriously something over the next 4 years? Because that's not going to be a pretty sight. Chinese embassy. Here's what they just said. Again, they started doing military drills Sunday night. In the face of the repeated provocations from the Taiwan independence forces and the large-scale arms sales of the United States to Taiwan, it is only natural that we firmly oppose them and take forceful countermeasures. Now this is making more sense. Anduril just sold Taiwan a ton of military equipment. This was, I think, a week ago this came out. And Palmer Luckey was on the local Taiwanese news talking about all the equipment that they had just sold. And so it seems like that might have triggered them to start taking more military action near Taiwan over the past 48 hours. Russia has come out and said that they support China doing. Venezuela has come out and said they support China doing this. Obviously, the United States is not a fan of them doing this. All right, so I guess that's their response to Taiwan. But I think it was $11 billion worth of material equipment. Tesla, by the way, going green, that Taiwan purchased from Anduril. Bullish Anduril, but I mean, you got the Chinese trying to flex their muscles now that happened. Tesla right there, 460.50. Green on the green on the day. I mean, it is in the China Constitution to take them since 1950. Yeah, I mean, the 60 Minutes Taiwan CBS special that came out a year and a half ago, I think everyone should watch it. It's on YouTube. The Taiwanese people clearly tell the American media at 60 Minutes that this is going to happen. They're like very explicit that it is not a question of if, it is a question of when. And I think it's a question of when China feels that they can get away with it without the United States getting into a war. And maybe there are certain presidents that wouldn't actually go and attack if China did do it. But if we do attack, I mean, forget the whole United States-China World War III angle. TSMC, like that is the big angle. And so when Trump talks about semiconductor manufacturing in the United States, I actually really do agree with that. Like, we need to make sure that we can be independent, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. And the time to do that, quite frankly, was 10 years ago. Now that we're in the midst of the AI revolution, you can't just build our independence right now. But if TSMC gets overtaken by the Chinese, we've got some deeper issues. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen, at least over the next couple of years. My wish for 2026 is amid having a good internet. Dude, I'm telling you guys, I have a really good internet connection. Like, I pay good money for good internet. And if you've been watching the channel for the past couple of years, the lags that I had at my parents' house, it would just randomly happen. It would be so annoying. And I know it was so annoying for you guys. That hasn't happened here. There aren't random moments where it's just straight up freezing or lagging unless the internet itself is down. And it happened once in September, and that's when I realized I missed the email, because they send you an email a couple of days before they're doing maintenance. And every time I got the email, I said, okay, I'm going to go to my parents' house, and I'm going to make sure that I don't even have to deal with that. Today, I don't know what's going on, but I think it's this data center shit that's resulting in more maintenance. And it's probably affecting the entire city, not just my building. Which, yes, is annoying, but I hope this does change going to next year as well. Demand a refund and present the stream as evidence. Dude, I wish. I'm paying way too much rent to deal with this shit. Way too much to deal with this shit. The problem is, and this is the nature of the housing market, there's no negotiating here. They'll be like, okay, you don't want to pay this rent? Cool. We'll get your apartment filled within like 2 seconds. Like, that's the nature of the housing market right now. It's like, if you're not going to buy, there's just so little supply. And although rents are coming down, you know, in this part, which is close to New York, rents are not necessarily coming down like they are in Florida. But if you don't want it, someone else is going to easily gobble it up within like a week. Like, they're not even going to struggle to get a new tenant or to sell a house. Robinhood right there, down 1%. Dude, I forgot to be on the Robinhood countdown last night, so I missed it. They gave away like 850K of Solana. So yeah, I missed it. But for those that got some Solana, congrats. CrowdStrike right there, 476, UNH 335, and then Celsius 46.65. By the way, speaking of Robinhood, I got to meet one of the OGs in the hood community last night. His name is Juan. He got to visit the offices yesterday. So if you have not followed him on Twitter, I'm going to link his Twitter right here in the chat. This guy has been, he's from Argentina and he lives in the States now, but he's been tracking the prediction markets for like 5 months. And he got on Roy, Tanner, and I's radar a couple months ago when he started putting the numbers together. And we were like, holy crap, this prediction market thing might be a way bigger thing than we expected. So shout out to Juan. It was awesome to connect with him, talk with him. He did get me a Messi jersey, which I'm not wearing today, but I will wear in the future. And now I can officially say that I have a Messi jersey. I don't have any soccer jerseys. Soccer jerseys, I feel like, are so much cooler than every other sport jersey. So you can follow him right there. Now I do have a Messi jersey. But he was awesome. He was super, super awesome. And he's an accountant, and he came from Argentina 7 years ago. And he's worked his ass off to be in the United States. And it's just super cool to connect with him and his story. But he started counting these prediction markets numbers like independently a couple months ago. And I mean, he's been right. And now Robinhood actually disclosed the prediction markets every month, but he basically was foreshadowing how big the market opportunity was going to be going into the end of the year. Zeta right there, trying to crack 21. She's trying to crack 21, 20.92 up 2.5%. Then you got NVIDIA still down 0.5%. Dude, I thought about wearing the hoodie under the jersey today. I thought about doing it. I didn't do it. You know me too well. I thought about just putting it on top of my hoodie, but I did not do it. Okay, I'm going to put the camera back on. Let me know if it starts lagging. Let me know if it starts being weird. If it does, I'll turn it back off. But hopefully it's not. All right. What other headlines do we have? What else? Thinking of selling Weeble is $8. Yeah, this trade just didn't. It's just not end up working this year. I don't see the bull, especially brokerage struggle next year. So it's lag ready. Okay, we're turning it off. We're turning it off. Damn, the video takes that much of bandwidth, dude. Good. All right, we turned it off. This is great. This is actually hilarious, bro. Like, this is so not professional at all. But it's like, what do you want me to do? Like, I can't do anything about it. Like, there's some stuff that is so out of my control. It is so completely out of my control. Okay, I didn't know video takes a lot of bandwidth. I get it. Now I get it. I didn't know. I did not know. This didn't happen under Biden. Oh my gosh, dude. Well, it is what it is. It is so not professional, though. Now, switching it off and on is not going to change anything. Dude, let me go through my email. If this is actually a building thing, then they had to have sent an email. Hold on. Give me a second. This has got to be in my freaking email. It's not like anything's happening in the market anyway, but easy. Okay, hold on. I have an email. Email says December 26th. Okay, this was the day after Christmas. Obviously, I didn't see this freaking email. Dear residents, we are pleased to share that we are fully back on grid and powering, operating normally. As a preventative step, our expert electrical consultants have recommended replacing all original busway components, yada, yada, yada. We have additional work scheduled for Tuesday, December 30th at 9 a.m. Well, I think today is Tuesday, December 30th. No, but hold on. This is I'm not going to look that bad. Hold on. This is what, while your apartment will not be impacted, that's literally the second sentence. Please note that the lobby and common areas will be without power during the maintenance window, except for emergency lighting. We anticipate the work will take 7 to 9 hours, and we will provide updates throughout the day. Okay, so there's two things here. Number one, I missed the email. All right, kill me. It was after Christmas. Like, I didn't check my freaking email, so I missed the email. But number two, while your apartment will not be impacted, they lied. Obviously, my apartment is impacted. And I would look really bad if they would have just said, hey, you will not have power for 7 to 9 hours, which in the previous ones, when I went back to my parents' house, they explicitly say, you will not have power. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'm leaving, because if I don't have power, I can't work. But this one, they are not saying that. They're saying the lobby and common areas will be without power during the maintenance window. We will anticipate the work takes 7 to 9 hours. Your apartment will not be affected. So I definitely missed the email. That's my fault. But I don't even know if, let's say I saw this email last night, would I actually have drove back to my parents' place today? Because based on how that email's sounding, I would have been like, okay, cool. The lobby and the maintenance area is going to have some problems, but my apartment should be okay. Because they literally say, while your apartment will not be impacted, the lobby and common areas will be without power. Lives in the common area. So look, I missed the email. Okay, I missed it. But like, I don't even know if I saw that email if I would have actually went home, because I would have been like, okay, I'm okay. I'm not going to be. Obviously, they freaking lied. The Wi-Fi completely is dead here. And I don't know if it's going to be back by the market close. By the way, they said 7 to 9 hours. I don't know if we will be back by market close, guys. I'll keep everybody updated, but okay. So that's we figured out. We figured out why it's the day after Christmas. Actually, going through their email and like looking for updates. Like, No, you send this like on Monday. I would have definitely seen it if it came in yesterday. But again, even if I saw it, I don't know if I actually would have like taken action because of it. Dude, my heart dropped when I said the work is scheduled for. They even bolded Tuesday, December 30th at 9 a.m. They literally made it, they bolded it just so you can't miss it. And then I realized today is Tuesday. So just go to Starbucks and stream. You know, I want to go to Starbucks one day and actually do a market open stream. I do think it would be a bit obnoxious because people would be there trying to drink their coffee and relax. But it would be fun one day to like do an actual market open stream in public. Zeta, did we see 21? Did we get 21? Wow, she got 21. That's impressive. This thing was 1840 last week. That's actually very impressive to see her break through 21. If she can even close above 2050 today, that'll be 3 days in a row of closing above 20. That's very, very nice to see that actually break above 21. So not bad. Not bad at all. D-Wave, that's up 2.8. NVIDIA still red on the day. And then the S&P, look at that, 680s. It's losing 687 right here. 686.95. Almost the lows of the day. Yeah, see, ringing the bell at Starbucks would be so, dude, it would be so. I've streamed once in public when Robinhood was getting into the S&P 500. I was outside, if you guys remember that stream. And I was yelling in public that Robinhood got into the S&P 500. Then I did it a couple months before in the airport, but I was trying to be more quiet because I'm in an airport. But outside, there were people walking back and forth. But that's the only time I actually like streamed in public. But it was more open. It wasn't like in a reserved like coffee shop. You know, it was like if people really were annoyed, they could have just walked away. Whereas in a coffee shop, I think it would be worse. Amid all your issues, tell us there will be no Santa Claus rally. Yeah, I mean, this price action definitely makes it feel like we only have 48 hours left to get this rally. We need 2.3% to get 7,000. I think it's like 2.1%. I don't know if we're going to get there that easily. Don't you have a co-working space around you? Yes, I do. I've never streamed from there because I'm super loud. There's like a recording podcast studio downstairs, though. I have streamed from there before. And even then, when I ring the bell, you know, people look through the window like, what the hell is this guy doing? So I like to be in my room with my privacy. It's just when the internet doesn't work, it looks very unprofessional, especially when I realize I missed an email from 5 days ago. But they lied in the email, dude. If they had just straight up said, like, your internet will be out, I would have left if I saw the email. But I didn't. Where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin, 88.1. 88.1. The Grinch is spoiling the Santa rally. Yeah, I mean, but again, like, is it the Grinch? It's not like we are basically at all-time highs. We're just not like we're literally at all-time high 690. We were at 687. That's not Grinchy. It's just not Santa-y either. So we can't be ungrateful for it, but you know, obviously it's not like the most. And now if we were down 3-4% in December, that's straight up Grinch. Even if we were down 2%, it'd be like, all right, this was just not going to be a good month. We're at all-time highs. We're just not busting through the levels that we all thought we would have a chance to get through. Where's the heat map? Let me pull up the heat map as well. Where's Fartcoin? That's a good question. We haven't looked at Fartcoin in a minute. Fartcoin is still worth $289 million in market cap. I remember when this was 1.6 billion. So some of that froth has come out of the system, but it's still worth a decent chunk. Call Jess and get her to repair the internet. I don't think Jess can fix this. This is an issue. It's part of Jersey. But now I'm actually tech red on the heat map. And that's why we're seeing some red. Now I'm inspired to see, is this actually rooted in data centers? Like, I'm joking about it, but like now I legit think, like, why is this building doing so much maintenance? What's going on? And why is our electrical grid constantly having to be upgraded every other month? It's like, I feel like there's a deeper problem with energy here. And that might be the issue. We're fine. We just skipped the extra present. Oh yeah, dude, I forgot to ask this. What did you get for Christmas? Put in the chat. What did you get for Christmas? I got nothing because I don't get Christmas gifts anymore. But like, put in the chat. What did you get for Christmas? And was it like, or maybe what's the best gift you gave for Christmas? Meta losing 670. Zeta still holding 21. Nvidia 187. S&P still red. Wow. Okay, I was going to say a lot of you guys said nothing, but then I saw Math 9704's comment, which was good internet, which is actually hilarious. I wish I got some good internet for Christmas, but a lot of you guys are saying nothing. I gave Legos to my niece and nephews. I got myself some earpods, perfumes. I got Pounter merch. Ileana did ship out a bunch of those things, which was nice. Upgraded my wife's ring to a 3 carat. I love it. That's incredible. Amazing stuff. Under Armour is up 8% again. Major insider buy today. 15 million shares. That's why that stock is moving. Amit, it's my birthday. Can I get a shout out? Shout out to A Astri 100. Thank you for being here. And a happy, happy birthday to you on this Tuesday. I wish you could see me to say happy birthday, but if I turn on the camera, apparently the bandwidth will destroy the stream. But happy birthday. Yeah, a lot of you guys saying nothing. I got red candles. Dude, the day after Christmas was relatively flat to red. The data center is under your apartment. I mean, maybe it is, dude. Maybe it is. Okay, so yes, we're supposed to have a giveaway today after. I even made the whole Kahoot and everything, but I'm not doing the giveaway if I have to do it on the hotspot. Like, there's no way. Like, if we're going to do a giveaway, we need to do a proper freaking giveaway. So if we have to do it tomorrow, you guys will know by like 3:40 if you see a stream up or not. If you don't see a stream up, then the internet is just cooked here. Because I really do not want to do a giveaway if we can't have proper internet. But we will be doing a giveaway. Either it's today or tomorrow. But we will be doing it. My wife got me a 10-ounce gold bar. See? I mean, those are things that for investors, those are gifts you actually cherish. You're going to hold on to that shit for a while. SoFi right there, 2682. Grab goes red. Oracle slightly up. ASTS losing a lot of its momentum. It was up 7. Now it's up 3. VG at least holding on to the 7s, which is nice. Then ETH at 29.79. Go to Steve's apartment. Steve and I will be streaming on New Year's Eve regardless. So we'll be live together. Matt, if you're in the chat, are you joining us on New Year's Eve? Matt and Steve had a great stream last night, by the way. They had a really good psychology of money stream last night. But I think it's me, Steve, and Matt. If it's not Matt, it's definitely me and Steve. I don't think Chris and Tanner are making it. But it should be me, Steve, and Matt. I bought Ray a new barbecue pit. Okay, it's a very manly gift. I wish I could say I got a barbecue pit. I don't really know how to grill. But your boy is now Mr. Medium Rare. I can't believe you guys gave me so much shit yesterday about the steak. I got so much shit for a year and a half of being a medium well guy. And then I finally transitioned to medium rare. And you guys are like, oh, it's not cooked. What are you doing? How are you eating it? It's like, I can't win. I cannot win. Like, everyone said I'm not a man because I don't know how to eat my steak medium rare. Then I finally start eating it medium rare. And now it's like, steak's not cooked. I literally cannot win. Matt says, I'm not sure if I'll be there. All right, so me and Steve will definitely be there. If Matt's there, that'll be awesome. If not, then it'll be us too. You're finally learning that we're going to give you a hard time no matter what. Dude, it is kind of embarrassing though. Like imagine CNBC on live national television. Their screen just goes dark because they have an internet outage. Like that shit's embarrassing, bro. That like so it's like embarrassing on a smaller scale, but it's like I think I can get away with it because you guys give me so much shit anyway that it's kind of comical, especially when this was before days. At least funnier than if it happened on the corporate side of this. On TV, they would just go to commercial break. Yeah, but what if they're like, what if the actual internet at the CNBC headquarters just like, what if the electricity just went out? Like, has that ever happened? Like the thing just shuts down and they just can't broadcast live. I feel like I've never seen something like that actually happen. Do you think Grab moves down if the go-to acquisition is over 3 to 4 billion? I don't think it should be more than 3 to 4. I think it should be like 2 billion max. I don't know. I don't know how the street's going to think of it, but I've moved my perspective on Grab to really be a long-term play. So even if they do chalk up 3 to 4 billion, the revenue growth they're going to get, and quite frankly, the EPS growth and adjusted EBIT growth they're going to get is going to be upwards of 40%. So I don't think they're going to have to pay $4 billion, but even if they do, from a 10-year perspective, they're massively consolidating the region and they're getting access to 280 million Indonesians that are now going to unilaterally use one service. But I think it should max out at 2.5 billion, which is why they raised 1.5 billion earlier this year. Rocket Lab still holding 70, although it has lost almost 4% today from the top. Tesla going green at 460. S&P still not finding any excitement. Zeta making new highs, which is nice to see. We got a whole 21 now. It's nice to see it getting that level. And then Hoodie right there at 116. All right, what else? What else? Do we have anything else? Do we have any other major headlines? NIO's up 6% on the day because China said it will extend the EV trade-in subsidies through 2026. Consumers can get up to $2,850 to scrap their older cars. Okay, so NIO now up 8%. China with more stimulus around the EV trade. That's helping NIO. This stock has been stuck between $3 to $4 the majority of the year. It's getting a little bit of a breakout here above 5. But that's good from a China perspective. Silver, are we still moving? Gold is up 1, silver is up 7. Yeah, silver and gold still doing what they have to do. I'm not seeing a major retreatment or retracement from those levels. Elon just reposted Nick Shirley's video. Elon has been politics Elon for the past like 2 weeks, to be honest. He was Tesla Elon in the beginning of December, and he's back to politics Elon. Elon does. Oh, by the way, remember, I don't know if we covered this on the show, but Elon had this argument about GDP growth, and Elon was saying we should be able to see double-digit GDP growth within 12 to 18 months. The issue with this is that so many people started quoting this and being like, look at what Elon's saying. We should be able to get to 10% GDP growth within the next year. Elon then commented under someone's post and said, by the way, I'm essentially summarizing what he's saying, but he's like, by the way, I'm an eternal optimist. And when I say these statements, you should take it with the caveat of 51%, 49%, kind of glass half full versus glass half empty type of sentiment when it comes to me making these predictions. So I think even Elon is trying to walk back the whole double-digit growth, because double-digit GDP growth is, I mean, when was the last time the U.S. had double-digit GDP growth? It's not easy to grow like that. So I think even Elon was like, well, it's like there's a 51, 49% chance, but it's not like a 90% chance we get there. But if we do, if AI grows this economy 10% a year, right now we're at, I think, 3% over the past couple of years on average, 2.7%. Like India's at 7%, Southeast Asia's at 6.5%, but the problem is their economies are not as developed as the United States. We're a much more mature economy. For a mature economy to grow 10% a year, I don't believe that's going to happen, quite frankly. As good as AI can become, I mean, we would have to see a level of cost reduction in goods and services, which means a level of increase in efficiency and productivity. And quite frankly, we would need to see at least tens of millions of robots meaningfully making an impact across GDP or across the economy to impact GDP. And I don't think we see that within 12 to 18 months. That's a stretch. Could it happen one day? Yeah. Just maybe not in the next year. Anything over 6% would be absolutely outrageous. Dude, well, it begs the question, right? Like, I mean, are we inflating the crap out of the economy if we get that type of GDP growth? And the only inflation is tame, which is why you need deflation from the abundance of products and services that make the cost for those products and services so small or so lackluster in the overall supply chain of the costs that are needed to produce things. And that comes from, it would have to come from, in my opinion, robotics, not just even AI. Like you can't just have basic efficiencies there. You would have to have a fundamental, like if something costs $50 to make and part of the manufacturing is the human that's involved in that, which is maybe $25, 50%. If you can slash that $25 to like $5 and get a 5x decrease, and that $50 product that you're selling for $75 now costs you $20 to make, and you can sell it for $24. That's where you see that across the entire country make a massive impact. But I don't think we're close to that yet. I think it's going to take some time. Microsoft going green, 487. Do you follow Bitfarms? Bitfarms is just another data center play. Bitcoin miner turned into data center. So I don't follow them closely. The only major data center plays I follow is Iren, CoreWeave, and Nebius. The other ones are important. I just feel super comfortable in those stocks. And quite frankly, I don't own any of the Bitcoin data center plays. I own Nebius because I see it as a much more well-rounded company with better equity stakes and different startups that are actually proving to be valuable. I don't like that the Bitcoin miners shifted their business and they became AI plays. Like it just seems sus to me. It's a good thing they did it, and they figured out how to become a profitable company, sort of, without having to mine Bitcoin. But I just don't love being an investor in those pivots. And I don't know. I want to see if they can actually make it sustainable. And I'm definitely not trusting Bitfarms and CleanSpark that did it in the past couple months. Like they did it out of desperation because they saw freaking Iren do it, and Iren got to $80. They're like, all right, we probably need to do this shit. And Iren, I think, is the most legit out of all of them. But even CleanSpark, this thing was hovering above 17 and right back down to 10 because they started diluting. And it's like the shareholders and the Bitcoin miners have been screwed over the past couple of years outside of Iren. I think a lot of them have been. Well, Marathon hasn't really had a lot of love either. Marathon just has a bunch of Bitcoin. Look, Marathon's at $9, bro. Last time I really looked at Marathon, this thing was at 18. Year to date, the stock is down 44%. And I don't even know if they've transitioned into AI HPC, but they have the most Bitcoin out of any miner, and Bitcoin has not really performed. Okay, Galaxy is actually more of the legit ones, to be honest. Galaxy, I haven't done that much diligence on them. These guys also got hit in November. But even Mike Novogratz, when he was on the channel, he said, hey, like, we're going to try doing some things, but not everyone is going to win in this entire race. So really, it comes down to execution. And I can't name you the CEO of Cypher, TeraWolf, or these guys. So it's hard for me to even be excited about a lot of those companies. What about Wolf being backed by Google? So the Google thing is bullish, but it's also like Google is just saying, hey, we have excess capacity for data center build out. We don't want to do this ourselves, so we're going to throw you guys some money. That doesn't mean the people getting the money or the companies getting the money are necessarily the best businesses to invest in. Now, some of them are based on the structure of the deals when you actually look deeply into them, but it doesn't mean just because Google gave Cypher and TeraWolf a little bit of money that like they're great investments. Unless they can continue getting a lot of that money, which is if you're bullish or bearish on the actual industry. APLD is backed by NVIDIA. That should matter. I don't know if that does matter. CoreWeave is also backed by NVIDIA. And CoreWeave is down 50% in the past month. Like, I don't know. These companies have to independently prove they can win outside of whatever narrative they're associated with, whether it's OpenAI, NVIDIA, et cetera. I mean, NVIDIA has literally backstopped CoreWeave to the tune of $6.3 billion to buy any excess GPUs they can resell. And still, this thing fell from 150 to 70. So I don't know if Applied Digital gets a pass there. Not saying Applied Digital is a bad company or anything. It's just the NVIDIA partnership doesn't necessarily mean. I mean, Navitas partnered with NVIDIA in November. That stock went to 17, and it was good for a couple of days, and now it's at 7. SoFi, are we pushing 27? SoFi, 26.98. Let me see if the internet's back on my other screen. Are we back? Oh, hold on. We're back. We're back, baby. Okay, hold on. All right, so the screen's going to go black for a second. I'm going to switch from my hotspot to my regular internet. We should be back. We should be back, so give it like 30 seconds. We're back, baby. We are back. Can we get some W's in the chat if we are back? I think we are back. I think we are good. We are good. The face comes back. You guys get to see my beautiful orange. There we go. We survived. Okay, so we can do the giveaway today. Okay, that wasn't too bad. That was about an hour. That wasn't horrible. It said 7 to 9 hours. It ends up being an hour. Not too bad. Yeah, the beautiful beard. We're back, baby. All right, there we go. There we go. All right, so giveaway, market close will happen as normal. Internet's good, so we'll be live later today. And we will keep this party going. We will keep this party going. I've been through worse, yes. A nice shirt. Hi from Holland. Raccoon ZTV, thank you for being here from Holland. Let's do this. Where are you watching from? Let's put that in the chat. Where are you watching from right now? For those that stuck through the internet outage, where are you watching from? I mean, there's nothing actually happening in the markets anyway. It's not like there was some breaking OpenAI news when the internet went out. I see no headlines that are actually really interesting here. But we are back. Okay, Matt wins. His comment wins. His comment wins. We have the White House quant watching from the White House. We've got Rory from the Netherlands, Leslie from Philly, Washington, Jean from France, Tess from the UK. We got Desi. Shout out to Desi. She was at the Miami meetup. Desi, hope you're doing well. She is watching from Miami. Detroit, Greece, Toronto, Montreal, the UK, Vancouver, Georgia, Finland, Booyah from Germany, Bill from Philly, Mr. Rilrax, Rohit from Germany. It's so cool every time just seeing people across the world. It's so cool. Got the Saudis in the house, South Africa, Israel, Vietnam, Sweden, Peru, Minnesota, upstate New York. Dude, I found out yesterday that Irvington, New York is a thing because Juan came from Irvington, New York. And I was like, where the hell is Irvington? It's near Scarsdale, which is like upstate New York, which I haven't been to in a long time. The only reason I know Scarsdale is because Scarsdale High School used to have a debate tournament in upstate New York. And I used to compete in that tournament. But yeah, Irvington, New York is a thing. Samir from Dublin. I'm not going to make the joke. Grown up. Made the joke 50 times. We don't have to make the joke. So Samir, appreciate you being there from Dublin. See, I want to make the joke so bad. I'm not going to do it. At some point, you have to mature in life, right? I'm not going to make the joke. I'm not going to do it. But no, I'm not going to do it. Going to move on. We got Virginia, Colorado, Malaysia, Puerto Rico, New Orleans, Singapore. Then again, if I was in Ireland, no, I'm not going to do it. I got to control myself here. I have to make sure. Look at Zeta, bro. 21-7. She's really making that move above 21. If she can hold 21, there might be a little bit of a blue sky moment, given I do think it's also fundamentally undervalued. Oracle right there, 196 as well. Not going to do it, dude. Not going to do it. I need to grow up. I can't be stuck in what's that thing what's the Peter Pan syndrome? It's like that's what it's called, right? You think you're like a kid forever or something. Where is Peter Pan during the movie? What it's like something land. What is that thing called? Is it Peter Pan Land in the movie? No, Neverland, right? Neverland. Yeah, Neverland. Yeah, I got to leave Neverland. I can't be stuck in Neverland forever. Can't be stuck in Neverland forever. But if I was in Ireland and I wanted to invest my money, I would try to make sure. I can't do it. I would try to make sure that I'd be doubling my money, baby. Okay, that's the last time. I actually promise, like legitimately keep this clip. I will never make that joke. I officially promise I'm done. I'm not doing it. It's over. I got to leave Neverland. I got to grow up. I got it. I've been making this joke since 2022, bro. And that first time I made that joke off the dome, Dublin, stock market money, get your money, Dublin, Ireland, like I felt on top of the world. And it was a feeling that, 4 years later, I don't want to die out. I don't want to leave Neverland. So that is the official last time. I'm done. I'm not doing it again. But if I get the opportunity and it's a good opportunity and it's been a while, then we might have to pull out that joke. But for the foreseeable future, we are retiring it. It's had a good run, though. It's had a good 4-year run. It's an incredible 4-year run. Zeta right there, 2120, TSM 302.50, Rocket Lab 72. That's back up to the green. S&P has not flipped green yet. She's trying. She's not flipped green, 686. And she's flat on the day. Dude, now I need to actually go to Dublin. Like, I want to go to Ireland. I want to go to a pub in Dublin. I need to travel. I need to see other parts of the world. I need to really and hopefully the meetups are a way to travel as well. But I got to see all these different parts that exist in this world. Oh my God, Ray. I want to take credit for this, but I can't. Oh my goodness. I should have said, guys, I'm doubling down on the joke. I would have been so impressed with myself if I could have been like, you know what, guys, I'm sorry. I can't leave Neverland. I think I'm just going to be doubling down on the joke. If that was my transition and my segue to then make the joke again, like honestly, I would give myself a raise. I don't even know how that's possible, but I would find a way to give myself a raise for that. Like, because if I was like part of some big enterprise corporate media conglomerate, I would demand a raise if I had made that joke live. See, that's the thing about the CNBC people. If they have a good joke or a good moment, they can't demand a raise. They can't do that shit. Like there's no live chat that's validating them with laughing emojis after they make a joke. But I would find a way to give myself a raise. Robinhood trying to go green right here. 170. Oh no, it did go green. 117.50. They have nice contracts. They do have nice contracts. I mean, if you're at the top of your game on one of those networks, you're making a couple million a year. And it's kind of crazy. If you make $1 million a year, that's like $100,000 a month, right? What's $1 million divided by 12? It's basically 1 million divided by 12. Okay, 83,000. So yeah, let's call it 80 grand. 80 grand a month is pretty damn good, bro. 80 grand a month. Like that's, you could do some damage with 80 grand a month. Now, 40 grand is probably going to the tax man. No matter where you live, it's going to be tough to keep all of it. But if you get $1 million salary, 80 grand a month is not crazy. Jay, thank you for the super chat. That is a Mitts raise. I appreciate it, Jay. Thank you. Deeply, deeply appreciate that. Pilots make $350K. Dude, that's been going viral. I think last week there was a TikTok of a pilot that showed how much he makes. I didn't even know pilots get paid $350K. Quite frankly, I think pilots should get paid $1 million. And the reason I say this is because I've been on a lot of flights in my life. The idea that a pilot takes a plane up into the air, 30,000 feet, and brings you home safely, I think that's worth a lot of money. Like, and I know being a pilot necessarily is not hard per se. I mean, a lot of people can learn it. It's not like the most complicated thing. But the fact is, when you get into a plane and you're responsible for a couple hundred people's lives and you bring it up into the world and then you bring it down safely, I think that's worth a lot of money, even if the market's not willing to pay a ton of money for that. So, I mean, the fact that they're making $350K, I'm happy they're at least making a decent chunk of money. But yeah, seems like a lot of those videos of pilots did go viral. I'm a doctor and I make 4.1K, and that is a lot for Spain, apparently. My markets are my primary source of income. Yeah, I mean, I was talking to someone yesterday from the UK as well, and they were like, if you make above 80K USD, I think it's 60K USD, you get taxed like crazy in the United Kingdom. And I'm sure it's the same thing across Europe. So like these high paying jobs in the United States, especially like doctors and surgeons, like it's not really put on a pedestal in Europe because it's seen as a social good, right? Because of universal healthcare. In the United States, you go into all this debt to become a doctor, then become a doctor. You have, the private healthcare system that props you up. So you can make a lot of money in the United States in these types of professions. Same things with lawyers, but it's not necessarily viewed the same across the world. Like the US is really one of the only parts of the world where you can make a lot of money and still keep a decent chunk of that money. Although, if you live in California, New York, you're definitely giving up at least 40% of that money. In California, the highest tax bracket is 53%. You have to give up of it. But across the world, it's not the same. UK taxes after 50K. Yeah, that's the number. He's at 50,000. After 50,000, it becomes a little ridiculous. We were talking about that financial nihilism article yesterday. I was looking at some of the replies last night, and a lot of the replies were saying 1 million is the new 100K. And I think that's crazy, bro. I don't think 1 million is the new 100. Like if you got $1 million, I don't think that's equivalent to the new 100K. Like I don't think, because not everyone has $1 million. Like $1 million, I still think is a goal to achieve. I do think though, in the next 20 years, $1 million is not going to be what it is today. And that's due to inflation, due to a variety of things. But I still think $1 million today is like, if you get to $1 million, that's still a hell of a lot of money. That's a crazy statement. Yeah, I mean, like, and you had a lot of people under that post agreeing with it, but you also had a lot of pushback of just like, no, like getting $1 million is not the easiest thing in the world to do. Even getting 100,000 is not easy. Like people say it takes a while to get to 100,000. Then it gets easier after that first 100,000, but it's not easy to save up to that. Especially when you have expenses, you have a family, all that stuff. So the question becomes, how does inflation impact that over the coming years? I think I saw a stat yesterday that, like, definitely going to butcher the numbers, but it's like $1 million today is close to like 7 million in the 1970s. And so if you just take that same rate of inflation and apply it going over the next 20, 30 years, like you get to the point where a million, maybe it doesn't turn into 100K, but it's closer to like 400, 500K. And that's just natural with the rate of inflation. Depends on where you retire. Yes, I agree with that as well. Same in Sweden. That's why other benefits become more interesting. For example, I'll pick up a new Model Y from Tesla and basically pay 250 USD from my salary. Yeah, the incentives are also across Europe very interesting. But again, you guys, for my Europeans, you guys have a fundamentally different system. It's socialized. Like, dude, I don't have a job, right? I don't have a corporate employer. I have to pay for my own healthcare. And I go through UNH. And quite frankly, honestly, one of the things I need to do in 2026 is increase the premiums that I'm paying per month, because I don't think I'm paying enough for healthcare. Because I got this healthcare plan like a couple of years ago, and I'm pretty sure that I should be paying more for my healthcare, because it probably is not covering everything I need. But like, I have to figure that out myself, because there's no government funded system that necessarily can easily resolve that stuff for you. So whereas, in Europe, you don't necessarily have to worry about it from that big of a perspective. But then you have the pushback that the healthcare system might not be as good, which is a fair pushback. But yeah, I think like there's no, YouTube doesn't give you healthcare. Like, you're an independent contractor, so you have to figure that out yourself, and you have to make sure your plan is good enough and the premiums you're paying are strong enough to cover your healthcare in like a meaningful way. Palantir, by the way, flipping green. Broadcom as well, up 0.5%. Yes, I still pay into Social Security. So there's something called self-employment tax in the United States, which it's like 15.3%. So that combines my Social Security and a couple other things. So like, theoretically, I am contributing to Social Security, and when I retire, I will get, if it even exists in 30, 40 years, Social Security. It's just not going through a W-2. Bitcoin, are we almost at 90? Are we actually making a move here today? That's the most exciting thing happening. Bitcoin, okay, we're not at 90. We're at 89, which is nice. We got $1,000 away from 90. Again, we were at 90 on Sunday, and then it fell. Are you on ACA? No, I'm not on I was on the Affordable Care Act till I was 26, because you were allowed to stay on your parents' insurance until you were 26. So 2 years ago, I officially went on my own insurance. Yeah, it's just like, again, this is the stuff in the United States you do actually have to pay attention to, whereas in other parts of the world, it's socialized. So you don't necessarily have to have that much of a focus on making sure that's the case. Like, I had a lot of friends in Canada that, like even Jess, because she's from Canada. So when I was talking to her about it, she was like, "You pay for healthcare?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, I don't know what that feels like." But she also pays a lot more taxes in Canada. That's why she doesn't have to worry about it. Tassie 461.39%. That is green. NASDAQ also went green. Yes, NASDAQ went green, 621. Okay, maybe got 4 hours left of the day. Maybe we make that run. Did the S&P go green? S&P is very close to going green. This will be our second attempt at going green. RDW is up 12%. Hood at 118. Okay, so the space names catching a bid. Look at that, Redwire, 12% on the day. That's nice. And SPY is at 687. The Q's right there at 621, and then Hood at 118.30. Zelensky comment, Ukrainian referendum would be impossible without security and safe infrastructure. Zelensky also came out with a comment yesterday, again, reaffirming that whatever Russia said yesterday was a lie about trying to assassinate Putin. Trump did comment on it. Essentially, he admitted that he did not like that Ukraine did what they did. So at least in public, he was taking Russia's side. In private, who knows how he communicated this whole situation. But Zelensky did come out and say that this is not true. No country with public healthcare is asking to adopt the USA model. Yeah, I'm not necessarily defending the USA model. I mean, healthcare is not something I've intimately studied and I know all the nuances about. I probably should, because it is a category that I think a lot of people are interested in next year as a catch-up trade to tech. But I don't know. I don't know if the U.S. system is better than the Europeans, or the Europeans. Obviously, a hybrid approach is probably more reasonable. And if you've had socialized healthcare your whole life, you probably can't imagine going into a private system. But if you're in a private system that gets really good quality, could you imagine having to deal with backlogs and wait times like the ones that exist in the UK? That was part of the reason why Palantir got the NHS deal. So obviously, it's really based on where you grow up and how you've experienced healthcare. But I would imagine there is a compromise between both. All I just know is that in the United States, being a doctor is seen as like a really esteemed profession, financially and credibility wise, because of how hard it is, how much money it takes with med school to become a doctor, and then how much money you can make if you become a successful doctor. Whereas across the world, that's just not the case. Like my doctor friends that are in Europe, it's not seen as like this like amazing thing, because it's just part of the social fabric of society. Which is why it's, I think about this from time to time. Like the fact that we all can buy a stock at $5 and sell it at $8 and make $3 a share. And like, let's say you buy 1,000 shares at $5, you sell 1,000 shares at $8, you made $3 times 1,000, you made $3,000. Like the fact that you can do that as a form of making money, and then you have actual jobs and salaries that are constructed with benefits and healthcare and all this stuff, like for the same impact, which is to make money. It is kind of crazy. Like whenever, and I'm sure people have felt this feeling before, when they've taken a profit in the stock market. Rocket Lab, by the way, ripping right here, up 6%. It's always just like crazy. I always just sit back and I'm like, dude, I just made money that it takes a lot of work in the real world, not in this imaginary little stock market world, to make that same amount of money. Now, obviously in the real world with a job, you get benefits and you get all these different things that aren't guaranteed in the stock market. Also, you have to find the right trade in the stock market. If you can't find the right trade or the right investment, like you don't get the access to that. But once you actually take that profit, it makes you realize how much people work to make money, when if you find the right trade, you can make that same money in a much easier way by pressing a couple buttons. It's just hard to find the trade. But if you get good at finding the trade, then it starts to become like, wait a second, why would I want to spend all this energy and resource working? It's just really freaking difficult to consistently find good trades and good investments that can make that money. But it is wild, dude. I'm sure people have felt that before. Like even when you sell a put on SoFi and you collect $80 of premium for the week or something, like that's $80. That's $80. You're talking about minimum wage. That's like 10 hours of work to get $80. Like I am so grateful for every penny that I've ever made in the markets, because it's not you actually putting in the work, like real work. It's your intellectualism and maybe a little bit of your guts and intuition that inevitably resulted in hopefully somewhat of a win. Yes, but workers don't take the same risk. That is fair. My mom was talking with her other. So my mom like coaches teachers now because she's an administrator, and my mom's like, she's like super dialed into the stock. Like she loves options, selling options, not buying options, and managing her portfolio. And she tries to get the teachers to like realize that it is possible to take some, because teachers historically have not been able to really become financially independent. A, because they're, in my opinion, vastly underpaid, and B, I know that's controversial, but I grew up around teachers my whole life. I really do think they are underpaid for the work that they do. And then B, it's like the amount of money they're making when you're a teacher and you have family, kids, like that money dissipates immediately. Like you don't really have that money to compound aggressively unless you're actively trying to put it into the market. And so my mom is not rich at all by any sense of the imagination, but she bought a lot of hood at $16 to $30. And that's what gave her the foundation to now have more money to be able to work with. And so she tries to talk to the teachers, and some of them listen when she like pulls up her Robinhood account and says, hey, you can do this, and like take a look at download the app and just like put in a couple $100. But some of them are just like, you're speaking a foreign language. Like, this makes no sense. Like, what are you doing? And one of them in particular, she tells me the story all the time. One of them is so afraid of touching investments. She's literally the woman who has like her money under a mattress. Now it's in a bank account. It's not literally under a mattress, but it might as well be under a mattress. She just will not take a single risk. And she thinks my mom is crazy for like buying SoFi. Which I get it. If you've never invested, like, yeah, it does feel crazy. But if you're willing to take the freaking risk, it is absolutely life-changing. It brings you autonomy. It makes you feel like when you own a piece of SoFi or Google or Apple or Amazon or Robinhood, Palantir, Tesla, you feel like you own part of their trajectory. Whether it's 1 share or 100 shares, you feel like you are part. Like all the people that bought Rocket Lab earlier this year, you feel like you're part of Neutron. You feel like you're part of their mission to get satellites into space. And if you play a big part by having thousands of shares, that's amazing. But if you play a smaller part by having tens of shares or hundreds of shares, it is still impactful. And I think that the impact psychologically is game changing. Like, it really is game changing. I think it fundamentally makes you feel more inclined to think you have a shot at making it. Because at the end of the day, like, it's your portfolio. You are in charge of the ownership stake that you have in these incredible companies. You don't have to actually do the work of building the company, but you are technically contributing to their company success by being a shareholder, and they're using your capital to grow the company, which I just think is an incredible idea. I'm basically launching the satellites myself. Yeah, I mean, if you want to think of it like that, I wouldn't say that to Peter Beck. I would give him more of the credit, but still, it's pretty freaking cool. Davis says, bro's been streaming for years and still finds ways to make lame ass analogies. Incredible, really. Davis will be at the New York meetup for those that come through. See, okay. By the way, Davis, your little Zeta right here. Look at her go, 2130. I got to give Davis the credit. I gave him the credit in my Substack. It was so funny. I put his Twitter at the top of the Substack, and I was like, you guys can follow him. And he texted me. He's like, bro, why'd you shout me out in the Substack? All these people are going to follow me expecting they're going to get actual like good content on X. It's like, all I do is post memes. I'm like, yeah, but the one stock you've talked about for the past 5 months has been Zeta. People deserve to see your content on that. So he's been pitching this name for a while. 2133, 5% move right here. Nice little bit of momentum on Zeta. Again, if you want to read that Substack, I'll link it in the chat. This is a speculative play, but I think it's cheap. If you want to skip everything in the Substack and just go to the valuation part, if you're just a numbers person, like, I want to hear the retort against the valuation, because the valuation is stupid. And it's not that complicated of a business. They're about to be profitable. They're SaaS. They have decent margins. Their stock-based comp is aggressive. I will give you that. I don't think that's enough for this thing to be trading at 3 times sales. So I think this thing is closer to a $30 stock if it can maintain some of the momentum. Amelia says, Amit, that's me from the beginning. I'm from Mexico, and we all get taught work hard and save, but finally 1 year investing and still learning a lot. Yeah, I was talking to the Juan from Argentina last night, and when you come from a place where you're taught work hard, save your money, get a good job, it's hard to think of like, what does it mean to take risks with your money? And Juan was telling me about his dad. He just got into the idea of, this is actually a really good story. Juan was, so in Argentina so Juan's dad is, I think he's a civil engineer. And so he works his ass off, right? He works really hard to like build things in the country. And he's a hard worker, right? He goes to work every morning and he works his ass off. Before Milei, he was saying his dad was depressed because he would turn on the radio, he would turn on the media, and he would just get a ton of like communist propaganda, is the way he framed it, around why working hard and starting your own business and all that stuff is like evil. Like, that was the sentiment before Milei started liberalizing Argentina. And obviously Argentina is not perfect, but it is, it has opened up a lot more GDP growth now that Milei has basically said, we are going to let capitalism thrive. Over the past 3 years, he said his dad is one of the happiest people every morning when he goes to work now, because his dad actually feels like his work will be rewarded the risk that he's taking, the actual effort he's putting in, is not just going to be distributed to everybody else without them having to contribute. And he was just saying he's a more happier person because he knows that his contribution to society is matched with his work ethic. And that has led him to open up an investment account in Argentina and actually start taking some of his income and feeling autonomous enough to put it into stocks. Because now he feels like he's actually having a real stake in the society's progress without it being just ripped away from him with massive taxes. And again, it goes back to this idea of just feeling very independent based on the idea of investing. Economic mobility and purpose are deeply linked to happiness, 100%. 100%. Zeta sounds kind of interesting, but I work in marketing, follow marketers, and meet with a group of fractional CMOs weekly to talk about AI, and nobody ever mentions Zeta. Kind of odd. So that's fair. I've heard some of those anecdotal arguments as well, that they're just not like mentioned with the TTDs and the Oracles of the world from their marketing perspective. I mean, they're competing with Oracle, Adobe, and Salesforce on their MarTech side of the business. And I think that's fair, but like, to me, that's not the best bear case or it's not even like a real argument, because I'm just looking at the numbers. That's it. I'm just looking at the revenue growth, free cash flow, and the amount of times these guys keep beating and raising. So, I mean, if they keep growing the way they're growing, they're going to be doing $600-700 million of revenue a quarter in a couple of years. Stock's trading at a $4 billion market cap, $5 billion market cap. Like, so although, yes, there may not be the most common in a lot, and they're probably trying to work on that with their brand, which is why they have that Zeta Live event and they're trying to get more publicity. I'm just looking at the raw. Same thing with Grab. You get a lot of people saying, well, I'm from Singapore and I don't like Grab, so you don't even live in Singapore while you like Grab. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm looking at the numbers. I mean, anecdotally, you can tell me you don't like Grab and you're in Singapore. And yes, I've never used the product. I don't live there. But the numbers are the numbers. Like, you may not like it, but there's 45 million other people a month that are using this thing. And like, it's hard for me to ignore that. So I treat the anecdotal arguments with a grain of salt unless I think they're impacting the actual numbers. Yeah, Zeta's short like 10%. So they do have a little bit of a short float there. Nobody knew about Palantir 2 years ago. Yeah, that's fair as well. So again, I think it's important to look at those arguments. If the numbers didn't look good, dude, I wouldn't have taken a position. I mean, I took a position. I like it. I think it's a little bit of a moonshot for me going into next year, but it's a moonshot that feels safe. Now, maybe there's a short report that comes out that screws it. Maybe their lawsuit gets extended. Maybe there's something there that's keeping it depressed. So it's not like a massive, massive position, but it's enough where I feel like if the thing goes to 35, 40 bucks, I'll feel happy with what I have. Zelensky says, ready for any format of meeting with Putin. Ukraine, US, Europe may meet in January. Ukrainian negotiators discuss faked attack on Putin residents with the US team. Okay, so Zelensky continuing to make his argument that we did not have the attack. Nebius right there, 85.80. Look at the VG short float. Let me pull up the VG short float. Davis says, you took a position because I forced you. Actually, I did buy Zeta back in September when I was with Davis at the Robinhood event. I think I bought it at like $18.50. And then I woke up the next morning, it was $19.50. I sold that shit so quick. I was like, bro, I just paid for my flight. I made $600. He was so mad. He's like, why'd you sell it? I was like, because I don't know why I bought it, but I just made $600. I was like, well, what's your price target? He was like, I don't have one. I was like, all right, so I'm not going to buy it. Like, if you don't have a price target on this thing, how do you expect me to hold it? So I had to do the research and I figured out a price target. And now I'm like, okay, it's cheap. I understand why Davis bought it, even if he can't give me a price target. Wow, VG 15% short. I didn't know it was 15% short. That's interesting. I thought no one cared about VG. I didn't think I feel like more and more people are caring about it. Zeta's at 11.24%. Where's Rocket Lab? Is Rocket Lab still at 10%? Rocket Lab, 8%. Rocket Lab's at 8. Okay, so VZ and Zeta, maybe if they get a bit of a momentous move, maybe there could be a potential squeeze. Now, yes, VG has the losses. I just didn't know 15% of the company was going to get shorted even with those lawsuits. Like, I feel like the shorts left, given the stock is down 75% from IPO. What's Nebius' short float? All the data center plays are heavily shorted. I don't know if it's above 20%. Nebius is 16. Wow, Nebius is 16? That's aggressive. Iren is 18. Okay, where's CoreWeave? Is CoreWeave at 19? CoreWeave is 15. Wow. Well, that's another reason every rally on the data center plays gets hit. They're shorted to an oblivion. APLD is over 30. Holy crap, dude. Yeah, until the data center bears leave these stocks, I don't know if they can eat. Yeah, 34% for Applied Digital. It's going to be hard for them to run. Amit, I've learned selling options this year. It has really changed my life. Selling options has been incredibly big for me as well over the past couple of years. And I do think if 2026 ends up being choppy, like 2025, we got a bull run post-COVID, or not post-COVID, post-Liberation Day. If we don't have one of those V shapes in 2026, or just one of those general trajectories that goes higher in a violent way, I think covered calls can work next year. I think there's money to be made. Like, covered calls on Nebius have to be printing over the past couple of weeks, and Iren, because like the stocks just stay within a range, but the volatility is still there, which is what you need for the premiums to be there. Like 2025 covered calls didn't really work. Like, if you had covered calls early in the year, you got your face ripped off by February, then you got saved by April. But if you didn't buy the dip, selling options was not the strategy in April. In April, the strategy was buy the freaking dip. Like, that was the time to just buy as much as you could. And then if you tried selling covered calls after you bought the dip, because you're like, okay, I bought hood at 30, like it's at 50, I can sell a call at 70. You got your face ripped off because then it went to 120. Now, that didn't happen on every stock, but on a decent number of high beta growth names, the covered calls just did not really. Now, you were able to roll them. Like, I was in that situation with NVIDIA and hood on a couple of parts of the position. I was able to roll them, and then by November, I was able to buy back all the covered calls actually for a profit because they had come down so much. But the point is, if that doesn't happen next year, the next year might be a much easier way to sell puts and calls and still generate income. SoundHound is 31% short. We haven't heard about SoundHound in a minute. They kind of fell out. Yeah, 1032. They got up to like 17, I think, after their earnings a few months ago. Wow, it's down 50% this year. This thing was at $20 in January. Yeah, this is one of those AI names that they have good earnings growth. They don't have wow, this thing was at freaking 20 in October, 21. They have good earnings. They're growing like 80%. It's just their multiple, probably at $20, got a bit extended. But it's not like they're not growing. Big Bear is the one that's actually not growing. But they're up from like $2. Big Bear was at 10. Now it's at 6. So it's not like Big Bear has been completely destroyed. It's at 560, but it was holding $7-8 back in February, and now that one's down. What do you think about Palantir next year? I think Palantir holding this level of premium on its multiple, even after everything has happened in November, is incredible. It really is a unicorn. I know people hate the valuation of it. I get it. The valuation's aggressive. The fact that it's holding this valuation even after everything we went through over the past couple months it's just a testament, I think, to how many people really do believe they will continue accelerating growth, and they don't want to sell the stock that they bought 4 years ago at $10-15. I think there's a lot of diamond hands. I think a lot of people believe in their trajectory. I think if we get a bear market or we get a correction, it's going to be hard to hold the multiple, but it's going to be hard to hold the multiple for a lot of stocks. So the question then becomes, where's the max pain? And so far, the max pain has been 140 over the past 5 months. And if that can hold up, it feels like that becomes the opportunity where you buy. And if they can accelerate growth to like 70% next year, again, I think they're going to trade at a high premium, but the street's going to see them as the only pure play AI name that's out there. Bitcoin right here making a little bit more of a move, 89.2 on Bitcoin. Trying to get back up to 90,000. You should look at Fluence Energy. That is also on my list. That's FLNC, right? People have mentioned that to me. Year to date, that stock's up 20%, $3 billion market cap. Yeah, Fluence, Bloom, Creta. There's a bunch of these names I've got to really start looking at for next year. But I also think if sentiment on the AI trade in general is a bit depressed, then we've got time to do due diligence before we go heavy into the energy names. Like if the data centers aren't moving, the energy stocks aren't moving. If NVIDIA is not moving, I don't think anything's moving. So until NVIDIA really comes back to where people think it should be, I feel like we have some time. Marvell, how's that one doing today? Marvell 87.73, that's up 2.3. NVIDIA back to 188. Is Arnie still in Accelera? I think he is. But again, Arnie is like not obsessed with it on the day-to-day. Yeah, NVIDIA just went green. I think Arnie bought shares of Accelera at like $2-3 and he just doesn't look at it. And he's been pretty consistent that it really is a 20x or it's a 0. Accelera back to 340. Yeah, this thing broke above. It's so funny. Grab and Accelera both kind of broke out at the same time. And then they both just came right back down. Accelera, I do think is a bit more risky because it's a biotech. But he is more long on this versus focusing on the day-to-day. What else? What else? Is that it, guys? Is that it? BMNR, are we flat there? So apparently, do we want to watch the Tom Lee video yesterday? Because I haven't seen this, but there was a video by him talking about the shareholder vote. Yeah, it was okay. It's a 2-minute video. Let's watch this real quick. It's a 2-minute video. Let's get the update because I have not seen this yet.
BitMine Immersion Technologies. This chairman's message is focused on the shareholder vote, which is coming up. The deadline is January 14th, 2026. And I would like to remind you to vote yes for these proposals. There's several ways to vote, and I'm going to cover each of these. You can vote by telephone, by internet, but the key thing to remember is the deadline is January 14th, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. You may have received a text, and this text looks like this. It says, good morning or good day.
Oh, we've received a text. We've all received the BitMine text.
This is somebody from Alliance Advisors, and they encourage you to click a link to vote for, to cast your vote. And when you click on that link, you'll be taken to a webpage that shows different items for approval. And we would like you to click to vote yes in support of that. You also can vote by telephone. You can call Alliance Advisors. That is BitMine's proxy solicitor. And this is their number to call, 855-206-1722. If you are international, you can call +1 97 voting. Electronic proxy voting received an email from Robinhood that says, buy no reply at robinhood.com. See vote Lynch. And lastly, if you are a registered shareholder and you hold your shares directly with the company, then you might have just received this in the mail. There are instructions here to vote. Please also plan to attend our shareholders meeting on January 15th. It's going to be held at the Wynn, Las Vegas. We hope.
Okay, so this video literally is just him asking you to vote for the proxy. So there wasn't really any discussion on what to vote for. I don't know if they're allowed to tell you what to vote. I think it's illegal for them to tell shareholders what. I mean, they can recommend, but that video was just like a how-to manual on voting. I don't know, dude. They pissed off a lot of people with those texts. I remember the first day Steve got a text. He was like, bro, what the fuck is it? He was like, is this some scam shit? He's like, what is this? Because like whenever you get a text from a number you don't know about, it's always low. Like you don't want to click on the link because then you get like a virus that takes over your entire identity in your phone. And so like you just hear these crazy stories of clicking on links and it takes over your phone. And I was like, I don't know if that's real. And then I went on X and a bunch of people started posting. I was like, oh, I guess it's their way of communicating. Yeah, again, BitMine, ETH's got to go up. That's it. You got to have the patience for ETH going up. If you don't, then you get out of it. If you do, then you continue DCAing. But at this point, At this point, it's more a crypto winter story than an even Ethereum story, because I think that affects if we see a rally on crypto. Pound right there, 184. That's up 0.25. NVIDIA, a little bit of a breakout. But I don't know if it's enough. S&P has to be green right here. Okay, good. We are green. 688. Now starts the rally, folks. Right here, this moment. Now it's time for 7,000. It's time to make it happen. Hopefully, by the end of the day, we get a little closer to it. Nope, nothing's going to happen. Do you promise? I wish I could promise. But in reality, dude, again, even if we see 7,000, like it's really a meaningless, it'll just feel good. That's all it will be. Unless you guys are planning to hit that sell button pretty quick when we get to 7,000, because everything's going to pump and get the hell out early January, which I think there have been a lot of people that have been saying, yeah, I want to pump so I can take some profits next year, early next year, raise some cash. But we got to see if we actually have the momentum to get there. The rally started when Amit's internet got better. Exactly. We need the internet. We are not doing Technical Tuesday today. Again, we are not doing TT. It really makes no sense to look at technicals for the last day of the year, today and tomorrow. So we did all the end of the year technicals last week. You can go to last week's Technical Tuesday. Today, it's going to be the giveaway. It'll just be a fun stream. I mean, unless we have any major headlines to cover, which I don't think we will. We'll just do a giveaway and that's it. But again, like what technicals, like no technicals are relevant right now. Like Robinhood was literally 117 last Tuesday. SoFi, which is now above 27, was almost, I think it literally was either 27.30 or it was 26.90 last week. That's 27.11. Bitcoin is the exact same price it was at last Tuesday, give or take $1,000, which is normal. I don't think there's any technicals that are going to help this week. Now, starting next week, going into 2026, we can start looking at what the charts look at for next year. But even the S&P, we were at basically 687, 688 last Tuesday. I mean, really went through a week of nothingness. The Fed minutes are today. Maybe that affects the market. I don't even know. Like, what is the Fed possibly going to say that's going to make the market that excited or that mad? We already know they're aiming for one rate cut next year. No one believes them, but they're probably going to reiterate that. They're going to talk about the labor market being bad. Everyone knows about that. They're going to talk about inflation cooling down because of PCE, CPI. That's fine, but there's a lot of parts of the market that don't even believe in the methodology for CPI, PCE. So I think we need more data going into January, February to see if it's like a real trend or if it's like a one-time thing. And then they'll probably just say we are committed to our dual mandate, which once again, we already know about. So I don't know what the Fed could possibly say that actually changes the market. But it will be out at 2 p.m. So we'll cover that as we get into the close. All right, cool. That's it for me. We'll be back on the close. Thank you again, everybody, for being here. Thank you for sticking through our technical difficulties and my inability to check my email. This is why I got Jess. I need someone to check my emails. It's just, I should be able to see my apartment emails, but at least we got it fixed up in about an hour. Again, we'll be live in the close. We're giving away $1,000. 10 people will win a $100 gift card, whether it's Amazon or PayPal. We can figure it out. But I set up the Kahoot. It's going to be 10 questions, and there's going to be a leaderboard of the top 10 winners by score points. The way you get a point, and I'll explain all of this again later, is accuracy, obviously, and then speed at which you answer the question. So Kahoot will have this entire software, which a lot of you guys have used before, but it will be giving me that leaderboard after, and then we're not going to use the YouTube chat, so we're not going to have to deal with any crazy screenshot that people may disagree on. And then once you get those questions answered, then we'll take a look at who won. And the top 10 people will get the gift card. So I think that'll be the easiest way to navigate it. I picked out the questions this morning. The questions aren't that hard, and the questions are not like about me. It's all about the stock market. So I don't think the questions are that difficult. Like, it's really not that complicated. You're gonna have 10 seconds to answer every question. So yes, you can ChatGPT it, but the point is if someone gets it within like a second and you take 8 seconds, then obviously you're not going to get as many points. But I think the questions are pretty easy. Like, there's no like crazy trick questions that are that, like, if you watch the stream every day or even like once every week, you should be able to easily respond to the questions. So it'll be fun. And we'll do that around 4 p.m. And we'll keep going from there. That's what my professors used to tell me. Dude, I was so bad in school when it came to tests. Like, I was a good student. And I got like my work done, and I was I was respectful to my teachers and all this stuff. But like I was like, when it came to tests, I was not the best. I don't know what it was about testing. Like, I don't think my SAT score was that good. In college, I don't think I did the best on tests. So like, whenever I got into the testing zone, it was weird. It's like, especially the ones where you have to memorize and regurgitate stuff. Like, so I think this stuff is going to be a lot more natural, and these questions are going to be relatively easy. Davis says you're a special student. I hate you, Davis, but I'm happy you recommended Zeta. So thank you for that. I'll be seeing Davis in Vegas as well. So I'll be in Vegas on Sunday. So if you're in Vegas and you're around CES, we'll probably see each other. We'll be at that entire tech conference. All right, word of the day. Word of the day is equanimity, calmness and steadiness of mind, especially under stress or pressure. Oh, wow, this actually goes to the point about taking tests. Even during volatile markets and uncertain moments, she approached every decision with equanimity, never letting emotion overpower her judgment. Okay, let's see if I'm saying this correctly. Equanimity.
Equanimity.
All right, there you go. Not bad. Not bad at all. So that is our word of the day. Being able to deal with pressure. We'll have to be remaining in a state of equanimity during the questions on the giveaway today. But it should be fun. And we'll get to do that after the close. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We should be good by the market close. I will see you then. And yeah, it'll be a fun one. We'll keep going from there. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I'll see you guys in a few hours. Bye, everyone.